Good morning, good afternoon. How you doing? This is Coach Renz. Welcome to the live today on this glorious October 7th, first day of the renewed rapture, since they keep changing it. But hopefully we'll get some people out of here today. So, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. As promised, we are going to today talk about the fact that Christians believe in a devil that does not exist. And actually, this is one of the things that helped me to deconstruct from Christianity. Very, it was a big help. It was a big help. Didn't know how I wanted to say that. Very, yeah. But yeah, it was a big help in understanding that the devil doesn't exist. And so, if the devil doesn't exist, if it's a made-up creation, then hell doesn't exist. And then if the mean that God part doesn't exist, and all the other doesn't exist, and I ain't going to hell. So what am I in fear for? The emotional toll that it takes takes on you of staying in this religion because you believe that there is some type of devil, that there is something out here trying to persuade you to walk away from this God, be disobedient to this God. That whole thing, that's something outside of you is trying to kill, steal, and destroy. It's one of the things that keeps people trapped and pinned into this religion. And so today we're going to take a educational journey on how to understand that this devil, this Satan, this serpent, this behemoth, dragon, Lucifer, none of it exists, right? So since none of that exists, then we can definitely see that the Bible is filled with a bunch of false information. And if the book is errant, then why should anyone continue to believe it? Why should anyone continue to follow it? That's the plan for today. Let me give a minute here. Let me get my cigar ready, and then we'll get into go through my basic lecture portion, and then we will open the doors of the church. But it's going. I know, and as always, we're gonna have to repeat some of the things because people come on late. Yeah. It's a damn foosball. It's the devil. Mm-hmm. Oh. Hmm. That's it, right? All right. All right. We got our stogie. We got our coffee. Let's get into this. I did not set this up. I did not I didn't write down my bullet points so that it's in an order that I would want it to be in, but we just gonna let it ride the way that it goes, right? So the devil doesn't exist. Christians believe in this devil, but their beliefs in the devil is more of a medieval creation. It is not anything that is indicative of this religion and the growth of this religion. The ideas of the serpent becoming the devil, into the Satan, into the Lucifer, into the behemoth, into the dragon, into what is then the devil in around late first century CE, is all a literary creation that has evolved over time. What you have is Christian authors in the New Testament reaching back into the Old Testament and then manipulating the thought processes on the text in order to create this idea of a one devil serpent. So in order to do this, we're going to start from the very beginning, and then we're going to move forward into our more current times. When you start from the beginning, in general, you would have to start with the idea of a war in heaven. But in all actuality, the writings of the book of Enoch were not in play when the writings of Genesis came about. So the Enochian literature, which is going to create the majority of the idea that people have about the devil, first that comes later. So first we have to start at the time frame of the book of Genesis, which is most likely been in its final edits around the 6th century, 7th century BCE, quite possibly as early as the 8th century BCE. In the book of Genesis, you have the story of the serpent. So first we must identify who the serpent is. Well, according to Genesis chapter 3, the serpent is, chapter 2, the serpent is a creature that was made out of the earth to see if it would be a good helpmeet for Adam, as well as to see what Adam would name them. So when you read Genesis 3, it starts out by, it talks about, Genesis 2, it says this God saw that it's not good for man to be alone. So then, and I knew people were going to say that that is false, so let me explain it to you. The Bible says, and we went over this a couple of days ago, that it was not meant for Adam, it is not good for man to be alone. And so God made out of the dirt every beast of the field, every bird of the air, and everything to see what would be a good helpmeet for Adam. Adam then names all the animals, and then he says, none of the animals are a good helpmeet. And so then he creates Eve. So the serpent in chapter 3, it says, out of all the animals, all the beasts of the field that the God had made, the serpent was the most cunning. So therefore, the serpent was one of the animals that was brought out of the ground to be identified by Adam to see if then it was a good helpmeet, and then the creation of Eve. And then the serpent was determined to be the most cunning of all the animals. So we see that the serpent cannot be what we're going to get into later as far as the devil that existed prior to creation that warred against God, because the serpent wasn't created until Genesis, until man had been created. Now there is the far-flung idea. Now, you know what? I'm not going to go into those kind of things because I know some Christian is going to, or Bible believer may bring that up, and I will give them that opportunity. But so the serpent cannot be the devil, cannot be the serpent, cannot be the Satan, cannot be Lucifer, cannot be any of those things, but is a post-Adam creation that then is cunning and can talk. Now we're going to come back to the serpent when we get to the Leviathan or the beast or the dragon. But I'll just go ahead and say it now. When it talks about the beast, the dragon, well, it talks about the dragon in Revelation, that old serpent of ancient times, that is not a reference to the serpent in the Garden of Eden. That is a reference to Isaiah in the Ugaritic literature, which is talking about the behemoth, the seven-headed dragon that has fully legged in Isaiah and has wings and shit, and it has 7 heads. So this is not related to the serpent either. So the serpent is not that old serpent of ancient time. This is a reference to the Ugaritic text. So then as we move forward, the next storyline that is most prevalent to most people is the idea of the Satan. The Satan is a word. Satan is a word that can be used for both a verb and a noun. In most cases of the Bible, the Satan is used as a verb. It is not used as a name. Well, it's used as a verb. Yeah, used as a verb. It is not used as a name, or it is used as a title. Right. So it's either used to describe the actions of an individual within the Bible, or it's used as a title for something that someone is designed to do. When we see the first main instance of the Hasatan, which Hasatan is only in the Bible 2 times, one in Ezekiel and another time, of course, in the book of Job. The Hasatan is not utilized in Job as the name of that particular angel, but the Hasatan is used as a title for this particular angelic being who is in the commission of God, who works for this God, and is a part of this heavenly council of all the gods and the gods, the little gods and big gods and all the other gods in this heavenly council. This God, this B'nai Elohim, is questioned as to what he's been doing, as if a person is saying, "Hey, I don't accept requests until I'm finished with my first fill, and then I accept requests." So this person is performing a job title in the same way that a prosecutor or a officer of the court in an American judicial system. This is how the Satan is being situated here. Now, this Satan means that they are an adversarial. So when you have a person who is adversarial, so when the angel of the Lord confronted Balaam, he was being adversarial towards them. He was being a Satan. When the angels blinded the men at Lot's house, they were being a Satan. They were adversarial to the men who was trying to, take they boom boom. So anytime someone is being adversarial, that is Satan. When they are given the title Ha-Satan, the Satan, it is just a title. It is not the name of anyone. It is not their primary role. It is not something that means that they are outside of the will of this God or the commission of this God. As we see in the story of Job, the Satan is in heaven with this God. And if you were to believe the thought process that many Christians have concerning what the devil can do, can't do, the devil was cast down the earth and has been chained on earth, or is over the earth, but this is up in heaven with this God. So how can he be cast down into his punishment, but yet having a whole conversation and a bet with this God? So most scholars recognize the idea that the Satan is not the devil, because we also understand how this is developed. And before we get into how it was developed, because there are two main culprits as to how this idea of the devil is developed, we then have to look at first the idea of Lucifer. Lucifer is only mentioned 2 times in the Bible. When it's mentioned in the Bible, the first time, actually it's 3 times in the Bible, 3 times in the Bible. The first time it is being mentioned as to the king of Tyre, and how the king of Tyre need to humble himself. So it's in reference to the king of Tyre. The second time it's being reference to the king of Babylon. Third time it's being reference to Jesus. But it is, in all cases, this is talking about the morning star, the light bringer. This is talking about the planet Venus. This has absolutely nothing to do with the devil or an angel that fell from the heavens because of a rebellion. This is simply talking about the planet Venus, how it is also known as the morning star. And wherever it is, the sun will rise that morning. So wherever Venus rises in the morning, wherever Venus rises, that's where the sun will rise. So that is an allusion to how, without humility, a person will fall from the stars, and specifically in the Old Testament, that is it's reference to. In the New Testament, it's being referenced to, it will bring on the day, bring on the light. But the reference in the Old Testament is a reference to you will fall from the heavens, as the planet Venus appears to do, as an optical illusion. So there again, Lucifer is not a person, it's not a name, it's not the name of an angel. So where does all of this begin to come from? Because it is obvious that in old Judaism, in original Judaism, there was no concept of a primary devil, an evil devil, a war in heaven that occurred. Even when you look at the sons of man who came inside of who married the daughters of the sons of gods, who married the daughters of men, and they had children. The Bible only says that those Nephilim were great men of renown, the heroes of old. Never places them in a negative connotation. So where does the negative connotation come from? Where does the fallen angels idea come from? Where does the war in heaven come from? This comes from the Enochian literature. The books of Enoch is what has determined and has made this war in heaven. The war in heaven only occurs in the books of Enoch. It is quoted in other books, but its origin is from the books of Enoch, and Enoch did not exist as a story until around the 2nd century BCE. And it's very important to understand the timing of Enoch coming into place in the 2nd century BCE. But before I get to that, let's understand in the book of Enoch, not only is the Satan an individual title, but it is also a class of angels. When you read the books of Enoch, you will see that it refers to the whole grouping of the angels who came down to marry the women, that they were Satans. Their head angel, Azazel, was considered the Satan, right? But they was also given other names as well. So it is in the book of Enoch that your war in heaven is. It is in the book of Enoch that they are cast down. It is in the book of Enoch that they are multiple Satans. So you do not have this idea in in 4th century BCE Judaism, 5th century, 6th century, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. You do not have this idea of a war in heaven, fallen angels, a whole bunch of Satans in Judaism prior to the book of Enoch. So, but it is at this time frame around 2nd century BCE that the book of Enoch becomes a fan favorite. Now, why does this also, where does this also get some legs from? If you understand history and you understand the story that's being told here, the books of Enoch were being written based on them being prisoners of the Babylonians and then being freed by the Persians and being a vassal state of the Persian Empire. This Judaism then becomes heavily influenced by Zoroastrianism. If you take 2 seconds to look at Zoroastrianism, you'll see that the primary movers in Zoroastrianism is Ahura Mazda and Akhra. You have a divine goodness and you have a negative evil, a fully evil. So you have a God and a devil. So this was being introduced into Judaism in this Second Temple period around the 200s BCE, 300s and 200s BCE, as they were being influenced heavily at this time frame by the Zoroastrians. Prior to that, the influences of the Babylonians and the Assyrians and the Egyptians and the Akkadians, there isn't so much a duality of super good God, super evil devil. It is not until they encounter the Zoroastrians that this idea starts to become fixated becomes fixed, not asphyxiated, becomes fixed into their thought process. So by the time we get to 1st century and the New Testament is being written, the ideas of a devil is prominent, but because it's being written in Greek, the word Satan from the Aramaic, even though it's a Hebrew word and the Aramaic version of Satan, gets translated into Diablos. And Diablos just means slanderer. But Diablos, just in the same way as Satan, that can be used to describe multiple people, multiple things, activities, can be described as a title. Devils, like you can say that those children over there, they're just a bunch of devils. Those people in that country, they're just a bunch of devils, or that person is acting like a devil, that person is the devil. This can be many different ways and versions to utilize this word. So the Greek word diablos is being utilized to say devil, which is just another reference to the word Satan because they didn't have a direct conversion over. So then we get the devil in the New Testament. And because it's been established that we have this super good and super bad, now that they've gotten that from the Persians, the story goes on. But the overwhelming majority of your thought processes come from the Middle Ages, from medieval times. When the book of Revelation, as the book of Revelations gains its popularity, then when it starts talking about this great dragon whose tail is going to sweep 1/3 of the stars from heaven, this is referencing both the Leviathan and the writings of Enoch, right? So it is referencing the Enochian literature of 1/3 of the angels fought in this war against God. And it is invoking how this great Leviathan, which is a 7-headed dragon, is going to be fallen unto earth. But Revelations is speaking of something that happens at a later period. So this later period dragon cannot be the same as the war in heaven devil that people try to say is all in one. And of course, we get our ideas of hell based on, and the little red tail dude based on mostly Dante's Inferno and things of that nature. So Christians believe that there is this one individual being who is leading them or trying to lead them away from this God, who is a liar and a destroyer. But but according to the Bible, the evidence of such a being does not exist because there is no univocality with the serpent, with Lucifer, the Satan, the devil, and the dragon. There is no way possible that all of those can be one because they have different time frames of creating, of their creation. They do different things. They look differently. They have different jobs. And then certain words are just titles. They are not individuals. They are simply just titles. So when you realize that that the devil is just as made up as the God of the Bible, then the fear that you have of separating from this book, or as the conversation that I was having with a gentleman yesterday, which inspired this conversation, when things go bad in your life, you think that you are being punished. It is not by a God, it is not by a devil if they do not exist. Things are simply going bad in your life based on either decisions you have made and you are seeing the results of them, or based on decisions that people who have influence over your life have made and you are receiving the effects of it. But at no time frame does it have there is a devil that is trying to destroy your life. There is a God that is trying to punish you to get you back in line with him. If anything, the God of the Bible can be considered your Satan. If you believe in the God of the Bible, he would be your Satan when he's in the process of trying to punish you, because at that moment he is being adversarial towards you, which is all that Satan means. Your adversarial, or an adversary, or someone acting in an adversarial position. So if none of those things, if there are no devils, then this lake of fire is also a made-up creation, a literary object in order to get people into a fear state so that they can then go and out of fear worship this God. So that means that there is no lake of fire. So there is nothing to fear. So there is absolutely no reason for you to maintain your emotional attachment to this book. And you can look at it from an intellectual standpoint to say to yourself, does it make sense? And the fact that it doesn't make sense is the reason why you should not believe this book. So I hope the guy who was asking that question yesterday, well, I was having that conversation, I know it was towards the end of the day, end of the show, but that is more of what I wanted to go into when I was having that discussion with him. And if this helped anybody, that's great. And so, as always, we will now begin to entertain uh, those who believe in this God and believe in this devil and have to believe in it. I don't know what order some of these people on TikTok were in. I think this person was the first person that I saw. And if you didn't have the patience, so for reference sake, when I do my shows, I spend about the first 20 minutes laying down the foundation of the show, and then I allow people to come on. So that's just the way it works. On this particular show, and when you're asking questions or making statements while I'm in the middle of it, 99% of the time I'm ignoring it because I want to get to that portion of it. Okay, so Cleo is, I think she might still be there. And I only talk to one person at a time. And the link has also been put on Facebook and YouTube for those who would like to join and have questions or comments. And of course, we have the idea that the God of, if you are from the Gnostic point of view, then of course the God of the Bible is definitely the Satan. Okay, so that person, I don't think they're still there. All right, let's try. How you doing?
I'm good. Good. How you feeling?
I'm pretty good. How do I pronounce your name?
Allah, just like Allah, or you could say Allah.
Okay, I'm not gonna call you Allah. So Al.
It's not like it's not Islamic or anything. The origin of it deals with the divine feminine. It's just a homage that I pay to what I would consider my heavenly mother.
Okay. So are you over 21?
Yes, I'm 42 years old.
Okay, cool. That's for TikTok reasons. You got to ask that question.
Sure.
All right. And I'm not going to assume. So, do you believe in a God?
I deal with the Netters and the Neteru, the gods and the goddesses.
Gotcha. Okay.
Orisha.
So, now, it's been a while since I studied that one, and I only studied that for a year or so. I don't necessarily recall a primary devil kind of being in
Well, Tamahu, the Tamahu would be what we would consider to be devils. So,
but okay, so this channel, the discussion is about Christianity and its belief in the devil.
Right. Yes. Yes. So, well, I believe in the creator and the creators when we speak of the Most High God themselves, known as the One. Or if I was speaking scientifically, I would be dealing with non-biological.
Okay, but
gender
we're talking about so Christianity. We're talking about Christianity and the devil in Christianity.
This is reference points because you have a lot of people in here. So if I don't clarify exactly the difference, because it's still Christianity, this is energy that can't be created or destroyed. So it's still right in this act.
I'll give you some leeway.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But so, don't go 50 miles in a circle.
Yeah, my question would have been, have you, without just throughout the studying of it, the tangibles, and to deal with the actual spiritual reality that this reality actually mirrors? Have you ever met a demon or a devil or a jinn?
No, I've only met bad people.
Okay. So would it be safe to say that out of the 8.2 billion people on the earth, even though Christianity has a wide range and variety of believers, would it be safe to say that you can't truly say that even though these stories are allegorical, hidden symbolism, using fictional characters, even though they are written from that perspective, could you truly, right now, at this moment, time, date, and year, truly say that demons, devils, or jinns don't exist?
Yes, I can.
It would honestly make you a liar because you haven't encountered these things on a tangible level.
Well, you asked if I had encountered them, but also in my studies, there is absolutely zero evidence throughout all of recorded history that we have that any of these such beings have existed outside of religion and fairy tale. So there's never been evidence.
Right. I felt the same way until a year ago. I was with my wife 15 years. And upon her trying to take my life for life insurance policy money that I knew nothing about, $50,000 that was offered to her from a white tea gentleman named Violet, I watched her shape shift in my face. I was with this woman 15 years. And the people that know me know I would have uppercutted Allah, choked out Jesus, I gouged all the Three Stooges to Jehovah. I would have done all these things, but to actually see this particular thing happen in my face and watch her eye sockets turn black, from the top of her eyebrows down to the bottom of her sockets.
Okay, I'm a personal.
No, just hear me out. When I'm just
okay, but you're going like into all this.
I wasn't a believer neither. I'm 42 years old.
Okay, but
this was
your personal. No, man, because see your personal experience of something like that. One, if it can't be validated, and all we have is your word on it, then that is not substantiated as evidence. And also, being in a heightened emotional state, it has been seen and known that people can have different types of optical illusions during those time frames. So without some form of validation.
So you said optical illusions.
Yes.
But what is the optical illusions if I'm telling you I'm sitting here with this woman and I watched her transform in my face?
That's what I'm saying. You could be in such an emotional state that
I wasn't the, but that's the thing.
You said I
wasn't the one tripping. I was sitting silent. She was tripping.
You said you was angry, that you was super angry.
Right? I never said I was angry. She was tripping. I wasn't tripping.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that you was super angry. That's what I thought I heard, but maybe I was wrong.
No, I never said. I never said anger. I never even said that word.
But yet but it's still the case being people claiming events happen without proof of such. Then it's not acceptable as evidence.
But proof from who? Because
do you like?
So
do you have a
so this is the part where I believe that they get us the most is because I live here in Detroit. So when I'm really starting to truly realize, because at first I was Pan-African until I seen this situation happen. And I was like, well, if this is happening to Black people and I just seen this happen, then we got this thing all wrong.
Well,
that's just how I personally felt. I said, well, this is different.
This, like I said, what I'm going with this? No, I don't, because all I'm asking for is proof of the events, because there are people claim to have seen many things, shapeshifter, reptilians. People claim all these different things, but no one ever has proof of any of these things happening. Now, if I took that stance that just because if I say took that stance, then there are people who have claimed they've seen Santa Claus. The people claim they've seen the Tooth Fairy. They've seen the Easter Bunny. And you can utilize the exact same I've seen with my own eyes. Or no, out of 8 billion people, someone may have seen these fairies or whatever. So that is a non-starter because it can be utilized to claim any type of spiritual being, right?
But what I'm saying is, 42 years, I've had some real supernatural encounters in my life, and I am convinced from astral projectings, sleep paralysis, angels, demons, jinns, fairies, multi-dimensional beings, the nectars, nectaru, or this shit. I'm convinced after seeing this thing with my own eyes, and I've seen many things, but at this age, this changed me completely last year. This is not a game.
Okay, right? So
and this is the thing, right? When you try to tell people about it, they run to, they run to the Santa Claus thing. And me being a firm believer of energy that can't be created or destroyed, it also lets me know about the Christ that comes into the age.
So
each age.
I will.
Hold on, I'm about to land my plane.
Because you're going too many miles around the corner.
Right, I'm about to land my plane. J. Edgar Hoover put a memo out called "Neutralize the Rise of the Messiah." Of any Messiah is what it actually says. And we watched them chop us down left and right. But this would be the same thing as the allegorical story in the book or the Gospels dealing with King Herod looking for the Christ child. Why would J. Edgar Hoover in the 70s release a memo to neutralize the rise of any Messiah if Christ isn't real? No, I'm serious because we know about the 7 ecumenical councils. We know about the Council of Chalcedon, the Council of Nicaea, the first Council of Ephesus.
Okay,
Then
see, you're going into no, hell no. You asked a question and then you want to keep talking. You asked me a question and you keep, but then you keep talking. All right. You asked, did you not ask the question? All right. So you asked the question of why would J. Edgar Hoover want to nullify any Messiah types that come up? All right. And it is the same reason and rationale that you can go back to the Roman time frame dealing with Pontius Pilate, right? Which is the perfect example. The reason why the Romans wanted to nullify not Jesus, but they nullified year after year after year any and everybody who claimed to be the Jewish Messiah, because when people are following a Messiah that is supposed to give them freedom, then they were having revolts all throughout the Roman Empire by the Jewish people who were looking for this Messiah. They saw that same issue when the Greeks controlled them, and we have the whole time frame of the Maccabees and what the hell is that? And you had the Hasmonean dynasty throughout the time frame of the Maccabees with the Greeks. So even from the time frame of the Greeks to the Romans, they seen the Jewish people with a Messiah desire constantly revolting against the government. So for the American government to say we want to nullify any Messiah types, like a Martin Luther King, like a Malcolm X, we want to nullify it because when people follow these movements, they are a disruption. And if they turn to guns, they will revolt, just like the people in Haiti in 1804. So that has nothing to do with Christianity or a Jesus type or Christ mind or that energy being real. That is just good ass overseer government trying to maintain its oppressive state.
You said the energy is there, but the energy is real, but it's just transformed. You can't create it or destroy it. And just because you said it was the Hebrew, that's not right. This guy name is Jesus ben Pandera. And he wasn't Hebrew, he was a Roman commander.
That's
a Roman time.
That's a legendary story.
Because this is an actual person, particularly.
Yeah,
this is what I'm saying.
That's a made up story.
That's what? That's a fact.
That Pandera is not a fact. The Pandera story of Jesus is not a fact. That is just like it's just like the Gospels are not a factual book. That shit's not factual either. There is no Jesus Christ. There is none of that. This was
no. We know. So we know that the Christ comes from the 10th nome of a city called Athribus in Kemet, written in hieroglyphs called Nebuchadnezzar. And you take out the Asiatic linguistic vowels, you get the word Christ, which is K-R-S-T. Right? The Neb means Lord. But what I am saying is this, right? Dealing with cosmology, dealing with this understanding of higher knowledge or supreme knowledge, or being able to study the stars itself.
Okay, dude, we're getting way off subject actually, and I'm trying not to do that. And all this, your mystical beliefs are not the thing that's in question here. If you want to believe that you are seeing people as demons and devils and stuff, fine. If you want to believe in, I agree that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Now, the cohesion of that energy, once you leave your body, that's a whole nother story where we probably disagree. But all your aspects of your belief is not what we're talking about here. That's not what this channel does. I respect people for having their beliefs.
Well, it wasn't about my belief. I was trying to deal with the energy of it, because I understand your standpoint. Like I said, I wasn't like this a year ago, and I've been on the earth for a long time. But after I seen this with my own eyes, it changed everything that I thought I knew from all of these books I'm studying. It just changed everything, and it made me say, you know what? This makes a lot of sense now, and why they do so much broadcasting, right? And dealing with the whole illusions of grandeur, right? The spiritual psychosis, the 5 types of schizophrenia. Like now I understand why you have all of the doctors, the the drugs masquerading as foods, right? Like now, I don't do nothing. I don't smoke. I ain't had no drinks. I've been celibate for a year now. I don't eat meat no more. Been on like, I just changed. When I seen this for my own eyes, it just made me say, you know what? This world is huge, and then the universe is even larger. And it just made me say, you know what? This really explains a lot of the things that man do not know. Because even when we look at the Bible, we know that the Bible comes from the 42 books of Tahuti, the Perham Heru, and we know what it consists of.
No,
you know, so it's just like a lot of this stuff we saying that's not real until you actually do the physical and the spiritual. I don't think it's safe to say that we can just simply say out of 8.2 billion people on the earth that this devil or this demon isn't real. If the energy can't be created or destroyed, but it just transforms. It just transforms. So if you're conjuring, they got nanoparticles and all of these things now, so we know what we can do. I got a microchip in my arm right now that was put in my arm illegally. Things like that.
And my stance is that the only devil that exists is the one inside each individual person, based on choices that you make and who you choose to be. There is no conscious mind that is the devil over the universe, who is the opposer of the make-believe God. And I understand. I used to be in not completely where you are, but somewhat where you are, where you are also taking things from the Kemetic, Cushite, pro-black stance. And that is not always valid, because your statement about the Bible is pretty much from the Cushite people, the Kemetic people, that is actually not true. That's part of it is, some of it is, but the overwhelming majority.
Yeah, it comes from Persia, it comes out of India. It's a few books it comes from. I only use 2 or 3 books.
Yeah, but see, you earlier, you made it, your statement sounded like it. You said all the books come from, the whole Bible comes from these 42 books, you know, in the Cushite, Kemetic, whatever.
42 books of Tahuti. It comes. It's a few places. We know that it's a few places.
But see, you see how you say on one hand it's coming from that the books of Tahuti, but then you also admit that it comes from Mesopotamia. It comes from the
got some coffin texts in there.
It comes from exactly.
Right, you got the story of Dionysus in there. Yeah, I didn't have to break it down. If you know this knowledge and you know this area, you know exactly what I'm saying.
Not when you make a finite statement that the whole Bible comes from the 42 books of Tahuti.
Yeah, I never used the word. I never said the whole. I didn't say the whole. I just said this book.
No, you said the whole book. I listened very intently to every word.
See, you did that earlier. You put words in my mouth.
Actually, I never said
anger. You said you thought I said angry. I never said that word.
You did, because you was talking, because
I understand.
See, here's the thing. You did say it because you was talking about how you wanted to uppercut this lady and all this kind of thing. So oftentimes people forget what they say. But I am very intent on
No, that's a different reference, brother. I didn't say that. You know, and just for, you know, because I don't want us to go too far. I've already taken you a little bit away from what you were actually dealing with a t-shirt. But yeah, that was a different reference point. That reference point was dealing with when I was saying I was like this. But that had nothing to do with me saying this book comes from the 42 books. When you rewind it, you'll see it. Or if you listen to it yourself, you'll see what I'm saying. But that's not what I meant. My point was, and my reference point was just saying that we know that this construction of this Bible, whether it was written by the Gutenberg printing press, and this was the first book that they pressed.
We're not going through all that. We're not going into all that, because that gets into all the conspiracy theory level shit. All right, we're just talking about, does the devil exist, and based on the Bible. You know, I said that in the very beginning of our discussion. It's Christianity, because this challenge is for people who are deconstructing for Christianity, right? So it's simply about what the Bible and Christians claim to be the devil, and that Christians believe in. I mean, I went down the road with you for a little bit, but I can't go down the road no more.
I agree with you. It's no different than Satan, Lucifer, and the devil, which you explained it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And then it come the great red dragon, and it's 4 different types of understandings of 4 different beings. Because Lucifer ain't Jesus, and Jesus ain't Lucifer, or Satan, and the dragon, and all of these. Yeah, I get it. I understand.
Yeah. So I want to keep it there. I understand your desire, your passion for where you are based on what you claim that you've seen. I do understand it. I do get it. I sympathize with it.
No, this ain't
That ain't what
this ain't one of them. Yeah, we not. It's, I'm simply telling you what I saw. There's no reason for me to. I just can't. There's no point at 42 years old to come in here and just make up my experience. And people say a lot of things, but like I said, once I learned certain things, I couldn't just stand and just say these things indefinitely because they constructed this Bible. It's like King James going on a witch hunt, or when they was just burning all of our women alive, at the stake because they were witches or whatever, or these great oracles in the earth that had these beautiful melanated powers types of situation, right? Things, written by Dr. John, right? Dr. Ben, or even Dr. Richard King when it comes to dealing with melanin and these types of things.
See how you went back into it, right, man? You went back into it. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna let somebody else come up because this ain't about melanin and this ain't about all that shit. All right, I appreciate you though.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with it.
I appreciate you, but that's not what we're talking about. My God,
8.2 billion of us on the earth. My experiences.
Oh gosh. Okay, before you come on to the show, and I didn't want to just cut my man off. I'd love for us to end conversations in a nice, peaceful way. But when I'm saying over and over again, this is not what we're talking about, then this is not what we're talking about. So don't just keep talking about it, even though I said this is not what we're talking about. To you, it may have connection. But I'm saying, when I'm saying it does not, then it doesn't, right? Then don't keep doing it. You're not going to override. And this is for any time you're on anybody's live. You're never going to be able to override the host live. So when I go on other people's lives, which is very rare, I am going to respect whatever the question or the statement or the topic is. That's how you got to be. This is becoming one of the most popular platforms that people are spending their time on, that people are interacting with each other. So we've got to get used to the way it functions. Steven.
Hey, how you doing, Doc?
Pretty good. How you doing? We've talked before. We've talked a couple times, haven't we?
Huh?
We've talked a couple of times. Are you the same? You the same Steven, right?
It's my second time being on the
okay.
on the line, or your line.
All right, welcome back.
Well, okay. I just got to hear you say, that, pretty much the evil powers don't exist. But like, okay, I'm gonna give you. I wonder what you got to say about this. Now, I was just downtown and where I live at, right? And I was just minding my business, right? And I'm a believer. I believe in God, and according to the Holy Bible, and I just minding my business, and I happen to look over. I see a young lady. She has some, tarot cards, and I'm walking past her, and she responds to me, and we started talking for a moment. But I mean, and I, but after talking to her, and so forth and so on, she asked me, did I want a tarot card reading? Now, what was using her? I mean, was it God or was it the devil? I mean,
hey. So do you know the history of tarot cards?
Only thing I know is that they're from the devil. That's it.
You said they're from the devil? No.
I mean, that's the report,
So tarot cards actually have a Christian origin. Yes, they were originally created as a card game with Christian symbolism all on. Right. It wasn't until later on that Christians first started trying to use them as divinations. But then the church, the Catholic Church at the time frame, so we're talking about going back to the 15th century, so we're talking about the 1400s. But it wasn't until later on in the 1400s, 1500s, that then the Pope decided that these, because people started using them for divination, in Christian divination, that he then decided that, I forgot what Pope it was or what meeting that they had. It might not have been the Pope in itself, or it might have been somebody lower who decided that, and then it filtered out. I would have to go back and research it again to really to remember it all. But yes, tarot cards started out as a Christian card game that then turned into Christian divination, that then was determined to be evil by Christianity. So in our use today, I just say that to say this, in our use today, and how people use it today, people are using it not based on their belief in a devil. People who utilize it are utilizing it believing in a balance, a duat of gods, a balance of energy, masculine, feminine, positive, negative. It has nothing to do with a deity, a devil deity.
You know what that sounds like to me?
Go ahead.
That sounds like, what that sounds like to me is like how, being that you said the tarot cards they were a Christian card game. That sounds like to me that it goes back, I mean, in its modern day anyway, that's what they're doing in Las Vegas.
Huh?
Okay, you know how you go again when you play cards, right? And
yeah.
You get the king and you get the jack.
Oh.
You get the queen.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the 10, the 9, 8, all that
yeah,
stuff. You know
it's just a card game.
I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I believe I got the revelation though.
Mm-hmm. The tarot was originally just a card game. How about this? In Christianity, in the Bible, it tells you to do, and we did a live last week. I don't know if you was hearing that one. I was talking about Christian magic. Christian witchcraft is just witchcraft. Right? So you are told in the Bible to use Urim and Thummim for divination. When you don't know which direction to take or which pathway to take or decision to make, then you use Urim and Thummim to divine which pathway that you take. Now, if you saw somebody doing that today, you're going to say they're doing it, that's of the devil, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm speaking out of ignorance of it, yeah.
But the Bible tells you to have Urim and Thummim, and it's for divination. But there's no God, no devil that's doing it.
You know, I want to check into that because it's like that's interesting. But yeah, when you talked about tarot cards being a Christian card game.
Mm-hmm.
Not too long after you said it, Las Vegas was in my mind. Atlantic City. You know what I'm saying? When they go ahead and they get the cards out, and you know, you playing 21 blackjack, you playing poker or whatever the game it is that require cards. You know what I'm saying? And there's it got to be some witchcraft in that though.
How?
It has to be.
See, this is, and I'm not trying to insult you, but this is the indoctrination that most people find themselves under, is that even though I can demonstrate to you that it's not, because you've been taught that it is, so even when you have the information, you still got to figure out a way that it's just got to be that. So do you think that this is an evil thing? This right here? I just wear it because I just like the way it looks. But do you think this is evil? Do you know what this is?
It's a hand with a jewel in it.
But you've seen this before, right?
That's Hindu, right? Is that Hindu?
See, yeah and no. So this is called the hand of Hansama right now. This is what we call it right now, the hands of Hansama, right? The main character, this is considered the evil eye. It's supposed to protect you from evil people thoughts, right? That's the Hindu, Buddhist, Islamic, Zoroastrian, Sumerian, Akkadian, Kemetic. Everybody else have always used this to say it protects you from evil people's thoughts, and usually it's just the eye. But then, of course, Jainism added the hand. I don't know who added the hand. The first time I saw the hand with it was Jainism, and then same with Islam, so on and so forth. But do you know in the Middle Ages what this was called? The hand of Mary. Because Christian women used to wear this to help them with their fertility, and they used to put it over their babies' cribs to keep them, because they thought it would protect them from crib death. Well, what we call crib death, what we know is crib death. They believed that it would protect them from Lilith coming in and killing their babies, because they believed that Lilith was a demon who would come in and kill their babies. But now we know that crib death is a thing. It is not Lilith who is coming and killing their baby, right? But for a few hundred years, this was Christian magic that they believed warded off a demon that didn't exist in their literature. The idea of Lilith being a demon comes from Kabbalah and some of the Midrashes. So these ideas of demons and devils are things that people have made up because they could not explain why certain things were happening. And this Bible is the same way when it comes to the serpent, the Satan, Lucifer, the Beelzebub, the devil, and the dragon. All of these are either made up stories or mistranslations of some sort, or metaphors.
Oh, okay, I see.
Which is why in the earlier part I was saying none of them can be merged all together. You cannot merge them all together. They're all individually separate. Well, the Leviathan and the dragon would be the same, but all the others are completely separate. But first and second century Christianity merged them together. Second century BCE Judaism began to merge the Old Testament ideas together.
Oh, okay.
So your modern day concept of the devil and demons is a man-made creation. Let me ask you.
Okay, it's been a real, maybe we can talk again.
Appreciate it. No problem, Stephen.
All right.
All right, talk to you. Bye. Oh. I think I saw this name pop up second. Yeah. I guess he couldn't wait. And I think it would be this name came up after that one. Trying to keep it in the order. Don't know if I get it in the right order, but doing my best. Cleo, is this?
Hello, Bubba. I don't know if you remember me.
I'm sorry.
You laugh.
Not because of you, because I almost call me now. I almost hit the call me now.
Oh, you so silly. I know I hear it from a lot of people. But you know, it's Cleo for sure, but it's Cleopatra.
All right, Cleopatra, come on now.
How you been?
I've been all right. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't want to say much, but I just want to say it is so good to see it's so good to see your face and to hear what you're speaking about and helping us as a people and just people in general to wake up. So I just want to tell you that and continue to do what you're doing. And you actually I started getting more in my journey when I found you. I don't know if you remember, but I talked to you on live one time. I was married at the time. I'm still married, but I went my own way, and he's going through the matrix or whatever you call it. But I've learned. I still got things to learn, but what I have learned is that we are in matrix, and this is everything's an illusion, pretty much. So I just wanted to say that we already know that the Bible is fake and it's man-made and it's religion, and everything you were saying, pretty much, I agree with you. I just wanted to let you know that and continue to do what you're doing and help people to continue to wake up. I just want to tell you that, and it's good to see you. It's good to see your face because I don't have too many friends, and it just feels good that you're still on here.
No, I appreciate you, and I'm here every week. I don't know if you know, but we do live now Monday through Friday, 12 noon. We start at 12 noon Monday.
Perfect.
Okay.
But I just subscribed to your page, so I didn't know you even had a what is this?
TikTok.
What is this? YouTube or?
No, you're on TikTok right now, but it's still we still got the Facebook and the YouTube page.
Oh wow!
I'm streaming on those right now as well.
Well, it is good to see you, and I just want you. I want you to continue to stay encouraged, and no matter what people say to you, continue to live your truth.
Yes, indeed.
Continue to help us as a people because we need that. We need to get out of this whole indoctrination, and Satan and the devil and Jesus and all that. It's one and the same.
All right.
So it's all it's one and the same. But as Black folks, we love to stay in religion because that religion it does something for us. But we gotta wake up, because I'm almost 50 years old, and it is what it is. I'm trying to get the hell up out of this place.
Yeah.
So continue what you're doing, and look at that. There's that smile. All right. Well, take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Miss Cleo, I do remember her because very few people who can
at
just
the store as the York
Carlos.
stores.
Hello.
Hey, Carlos.
How you doing?
Are you? What's the background?
So
Okay, so I think you have to call Uber itself
You need me
because
to,
sorry about that.
because
I am.
they gave me the
Do you want me to
bag
let somebody else come up and then
Yeah. Yes, please. Yeah,
All right.
appreciate that.
No problem. Carlos he got some things going on. They handle some business. So we're gonna bring El Guru if he's still there. Okay, El Guru is not there. There's no one else in the waiting room. So Carlos, I know you can still hear me. Just give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready, and I'll be able to know. Oh, wait a minute, El Guru is here. It just took a while.
Hey, what's going on?
What up?
What's going on?
Are
Hey,
you?
man, it's
You're over 21, right?
I beg your pardon?
You're over 21, right?
Over 21.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So it's always good and refreshing to see the brothers engaging in critical thinking skills and being able to put this to bed about Christianity and all of this Abrahamic business people have been talking about.
Indeed.
Every time that this Abrahamic mythology has been presented to us Africans has been in a state of servitude, always. So I don't know why people simp for Jesus and simp for Moses and simp for Abraham. I mean, these people never existed.
It's because they believe in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've spoken to rabbis, man, and rabbis have told me that Moses is a literary character, never existed. So what makes people think that this character that they can't even trace their blood, their Jewish bloodline? This is a fictional character. The Jewish community doesn't even recognize this character. So that's how you know it's a fugazi character.
But brother, it's always refreshing. I gave you a follow. I think this is my first time ever speaking to you. Are you familiar with all of the other brothers that are in the deconstructing community right now?
I'm familiar with a few people, not all. But so you have to be specific.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Christ Before Jesus?
No, I don't know.
Brother Jared? No. Are you familiar with who else? We got Born Again Atheists. She's a good one. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Godless Reggie. There's a few. But Fluffsky Doo. You know Fluffsky Doo?
Yes.
All right. She's another good one. She's from New York. She's from my hometown as well.
Thinker.
Yes, she's also a good one.
Christina.
She comes on at night, but I mean, the time that she comes on, I'm sleeping. But I get to catch her, on my way to work.
Bro, yeah. I can say Thinker will be on for 11, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, she does this full time. She does this job. It's a full-time job for her. Yeah. So kudos to her, man. And she found her niche.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I go on, there's 5, 6, maybe 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got a strong following. So it's good to see you. So let me just ask you a few questions, man. What made you come to the conclusion, right? And how long were you believing in this mythology?
Okay, so even though that's not what we're talking about today, I mean, my journey started when I was 9 years old, and I started questioning the Bible. I started questioning certain things the pastor was saying because they didn't sit right with me, especially about rich people go to hell. Rich people go to hell, poor people go to heaven, and I didn't like being poor. So that was my first thing that started me questioning the Bible. I was questioning it, trying to prove it or reform it up until I was about 27, 28. And then from about 27 to 37 is when I started fluctuating to move away from the Bible. And it was coming to understandings like the devil is not real. It was one of the things that made me say, okay, this book cannot be real. This religion cannot be real if one of the main characters don't exist. But it was many things that went against history, that went against archaeology and geology, that made me realize the Bible is just a non-factual book. That's like a short version.
Okay. Because, some people come from, not everybody, but some people come from different backgrounds, like Black Hebrew Israelite or Muslims, or things like that. But I can also debate those brothers as well,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. I know you're probably looking for some opposition up here.
It's entertaining.
Just to pass some time. But yeah, man, thanks for bringing me up, and I'll be in the comments, man.
All right. Appreciate you, and thank you for the follow. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely got. And I'm gonna start sharing this out to all my people, all my believers that want to come and talk to you, man.
Appreciate that. What part of the country are you in, by the way?
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
And what part of the country are you in?
What part of the country I'm in?
Yeah.
I'm in Chicago right now.
Okay. I always just like to know what people are.
Yeah. What about yourself?
I'm in San Antonio.
Okay. Nice.
All right. Appreciate you.
All right, brother.
All right, brother. Carlos, you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready, Carlos. All right. Make sure Carlos ain't got all this noise in the back.
How you doing this afternoon, Randall?
I'm doing all right.
Pretty cool topic today.
So what do you have on this topic of Christians believing the devil that doesn't exist?
Well, I could almost agree with you on that, because I do think that many Christians agree in a devil that's not necessarily the biblical devil. But I just want to make some simple observations. I don't want to go into like personal experiences. I know you're not really you're wanting to work with stuff that is observable to the average person, right? So the Bible speaks of a devil that operates through certain nations or powers, entities, right? I personally believe that today that power is the Vatican, is papal Rome. I believe that Pope is the Antichrist. That is where the that devil is operating through, right? We see the Bible describes a world that is controlled by this devil and by these entities that manipulate people, uh, you know, instigate wars, instigate certain things, and it seems that like that's pretty observable. That's pretty consistent with a world where you know innately you need to be evil to make it on top. You know what I mean? That's what we see. We see that people need to compromise principles and morals if they want to make it ahead. It seems like all the world rulers and all are pretty much in agreement with their, cutthroat theologies and it just seems like it's a world ran by evil, by evil principles.
Okay.
So I'd say that the world is, yeah. I got more to add to that, but I know that you want to.
Yeah, because
I know.
So there is, so everything that you described is something that can be just done by people, just people. You don't require nor need a devil to do that. The simple fact that humans have needs and humans have desires and humans have greed and have want, that in itself can create everything that you just said. Now, as far as it working through systems like the different churches or the Vatican and whatnot, don't you think it would be the opposite? That a devil wouldn't work through a church, because by working through a church, the primary message you're teaching the church is to follow this God, to believe in Jesus, to forgive people, to love people, which is what the church today has been. Nowadays is speaking more of that than how it was back in the day. So this idea that
I think it's genius.
Anti-capitalism, huh?
I think it's genius to operate through the church, and I'll tell you why when you're done.
Because if I was the devil, then what I would do is I wouldn't operate through a system of telling people to believe in some deity and then they're going to go to heaven, and unless the entire deity is false and there is a different deity that they're supposed to be worshiping in order to actually return to, if we went Gnostic, to the Primora. That would be the only reason I would work through a church, is to give them a false doctrine in its totality with no truth in it. Other than that, if the church was true and I am the devil of the Bible, and that's what we're talking about, the devil of the Bible. And that's why the devil of the Bible couldn't work through a church. If I'm the devil of the Bible, then I'm going to show that, the people who are worshiping Hinduism, I'm going to give them all the money and all the power. The people worshiping in Ifa, I'm going to give them all the money, all the power. I'm going to give all the money and the power to those who are in other religions, not the actual true religion, if I'm the devil of the Bible.
If I was the devil, I would find the true church. I would find that true church, and I would corrupt it from within, and I would present it to the world as still being the true church, but not being the true church anymore. So what do we have now? We have basically, Ellen White quoted, the devil will rock everyone to sleep in the cradle of false security. We have the world thinking that they have the true church, right? We think the devil has convinced the world that this is the true church. This is the true God of the Bible. But in reality, they've been rocked to sleep in their false security, because it's not. The Trinity is not the God of the Bible. Sunday is not God's holy day. That's Rome's holy day. The Trinity is the God of Babylon. You see what the Catholic Church has done. It has disguised the true church, right? It is paganism disguised as Christianity. It's not the gospel that saves. People think it looks like it. It's a counterfeit though, and I think that's much more effective and much more sadistic. Definitely much more effective.
Now, I can see that on a two-pronged plan to do that. I just think it will be running a greater risk, but I can see how you could still do such a thing. So I can agree with you on that aspect of it as well. But as far as all the shit that man does, that's just man. But and the core of this conversation is that there is no devil. Even the idea that this devil exists, even within the Bible itself, there is no devil.
Yeah.
Because you cannot play the devil anywhere other than the New Testament, which is when they took all that from the Old Testament and made it into one being. And when you look at that, then you know the one being that they created in the New Testament is a false being, a literary character.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie and sit here and say, hey, look, I've got hard proof that there's a devil. All I can do is point to observations that anyone could easily make. Like, we see an innate love for evil in mankind, right? We see an obsession with death, evil. We see all the elites. All of their occults are based on some sort of Luciferian, some sort of satanic. There's just an obsession with Satanism and the things that are evil, biblically evil even. Like, people love the whole theme of the devil, and it's just the most popular theme, and it's cool, and it's just, I don't know. People are just obsessed with it. And so all I can do is point.
No. So this goes into when I talk to people about glass half empty, glass half full. Or if you look in a room and if I tell you to find brown, then you're going to find all the brown in the room and not see any of the other colors. The overwhelming majority of the people on the planet are not focused on evil, negative things. The overwhelming majority of people on the planet, they're just trying to live their life and find as much happiness in their life as they want. Right?
Yeah.
So this would be.
Yeah, I'm speaking more of the elite. I was referring more to the elite, like people that are in control and power. But
the elite are not the majority of the people.
No, and you're right. You're right.
When we look at people, because you said it is an innate thing in man to want to do the negative, evil thing. But the truth is, the innate thing in man is to do the more positive thing. Because the more positive things. People's actions demonstrate more positive things in their everyday life than they demonstrate evil things in their everyday life.
I would say it's a struggle between common and selfish, because I think innately all humans are selfish, and selfishness is something that we all need to be put in check, which is pretty consistent. The Bible says that the heart is wicked and it's wicked and deceitful above all things. And I think this is something that speaks to everybody. I think we've all know ourselves enough to think that we're capable. Huh?
The Bible is wrong.
Wrong about the mind being
the heart and the mind. Yes, the Bible says in Genesis, before the flood and right after the flood, that every thought from man's heart is evil from their birth or youth, depending on which translation you're using. If a 3-year-old, every thought from a 3-year-old is not evil.
No, I agree.
So the Bible's wrong. Every thought from Carlos is not evil. Is every thought from Carlos evil? Is every thought?
Well, it's evil, first of all, right? The definition of sin is transgression of the law. That's the biblical definition for sin, right? That's 1 John 3:4. Sin is transgression of the law. Now, in order to transgress the law, you must be aware of it. You need to be coherent enough to understand that it is the law, which makes perfect sense. Like, we don't hold our children accountable to what they don't understand, you know? Like, so it is with God. God holds us accountable to our understanding.
I understand.
So it makes no sense that a baby could sin. Babies cannot sin.
But that's what the Bible says in Genesis, that from your youth, every thought is evil. And this is God speaking to you.
From youth, every thought is evil?
Yeah, that's it. This is your God speaking to Noah. And he says it 2 times, before the flood and right after the flood.
I don't remember it being worded like that. I just remember it saying that God had to destroy the world, basically because all the thoughts of men were evil continually. And so it's just referring to mankind was just out of control, just wide open transgression against the law, which honestly, like, I mean, where does it look like we're heading? where do you think we're heading? Do you think we're heading into utopia or some kind of kumbaya setting? It's getting pretty rough.
No,
things are
I
getting
think
pretty
we
rough.
are right. We go up and down in our societal norms as far as morality. For you, you may say things are getting pretty rough. For me, things are better than they have ever been in my life. Because for me, growing up in Georgia, my childhood was not great, especially when you had people trying to kill you just because your skin tone. When people steal your scholarships because of your skin tone, when you don't get hired because of your skin tone, when you have anxiety every time a police officer drives by, things are better in my life as I see the world than they were in the 80s, in the 70s.
I'll definitely grant you that in your personal experience, it might have, it definitely was, and then probably for most of the, black folks, to be honest with you, I meant more of like a moral standpoint. Those days were definitely bad. Had its evils. I think now there's
let's take
more subtle but still obvious kind of evil.
Let's take a look at those moral standpoints. In the past, let's take a look at those moral standpoints. Prior to the 60s, right?
Right.
Of course, non-white people around the world were treated poorly. Women could not, like if a husband raped his wife, that was not illegal. If he beat his wife, that was not illegal. Women were legally paid less money. And this was around the world. So for half the population, which is women, they were seen as second-class citizens from the 1960s on back in man's history. So half the population endured thousands upon thousands of years of second-class citizenship compared to where women stand today. Going back, countries didn't have their own autonomy. They were either conquered by others or colonized by others. And this is just not European colonization. And the same thing happened in China, the Japanese conquering the Chinese and occupying them. You had different people. Whatever 2 or 3 major powers were in the world were conquering other people, subjecting them to where they don't have agency of governance. So the world is much better now than it was from the 1960s back for the majority of the people.
Yeah. I can grant you that on many for sure, on many levels it was better, or it's better now. You have a good point when you said that it kind of fluctuates up and down. That's a great point, because if you go even a little further back, right? Let's say you go back into the Dark Ages, right? now you're looking at a time where the Roman Catholic Church enforced religion, its form of Christianity, on the entire world. And if you didn't accept, you were burned on the stake. You know, millions, tens of millions of people were killed who did not accept the Christianity that Rome enforced. You know, and so
Right.
yeah, you have a good point there. Kind of, it's evil. It's different evils. I see more like a blur of the lines of what's good and evil today. You know, we have men saying they could be women, women could be men. We've got kids, you know, being taught that they can change their sex. You know,
Period.
I don't know. It's now
Now,
if you understand the history.
think about something
Yeah.
though as well. Because how old are you?
Huh?
How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 45.
All right, so you're 45. So I don't know how much you're going to remember this, but in the 80s and in the 80s, right? Do you remember the 80s?
I was born in 1980. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, so
In 19.
so if okay, it's gonna be harder for you to. It may be hard for you to understand, but you just may know it. Period. The world seemed in the 80s, before we had network news, before we had round the clock news, before you had 11 different outlets to know what was going on around the world, the news was really localized. So you really didn't know how many murders were going on around the country, right? Or around the world. You didn't know what was going on, genocides that were actually happening in other countries. You may not have known about natural disasters that was happening in other countries. But then once, especially after Desert Storm, national exposure, worldwide exposure of through the television, let everybody start to know more of the grievances of things that was happening around the world. And then of course the internet and social media have just taken that to a whole nother level. So we are now inundated with all the horrors that go on in the world. And so to us, it seems like it's worse. It could seem like it's worse because of that. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. Can you repeat the very last thing you said?
Oh, the very last thing that now that we can see through social media every terrible
We're more
thing.
aware. Yeah. You know, I can grant you. I will grant you. There's nothing new under the sun. Realistically, looking at the big picture, we're just as evil as we've always been.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I guess, like you said, there's periods of time where the evil just maybe just fluctuates up and down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that I think evil at its highest points, at its peaks, are usually in the state of like dictatorships, situations like with the Roman Catholic Church where they basically enforce religion on the world. And when I say that things are getting worse, I'm speaking a little more to that aspect, because that is where we're heading. We are heading into a one world government, one world religion system where religion will be enforced on us again. History will repeat itself. And this is what the Bible says will happen. You know what I mean? And this is, well, from my observation, I don't know who, maybe not many people observe or look for these things, but I see our country heading into a church and state union, right? We hear Trump talking about, well, let's just separate. Let's just, do away with the separation for a little while, separation of church and state. And, well, that's precisely,
It'll never happen.
Huh?
So my opinion, and
Right.
my opinion on the first part, not my opinion on the second part. On the first part, as far as the one world government, my opinion is that that would be great. I think a one world government would be great. Get rid of nationalism. I think that would be outstanding
Yeah.
because that gets rid of one of the things that divides people. So I am all for a one world government. Now, and I think a one world
I
government,
could be too.
but
I
then
could say under the right circumstances, I think that could potentially be good. But I don't think the circumstances will be well under the circumstances which we unite and form, and the people that will be on top. I don't think that will be the case.
well, yeah, I mean, it'll probably come from some type of war or supernatural disaster. Some not supernatural as far as supernatural, but an
I
asteroid
think
hits
you
and
might be
affects
honest
the
about
whole world. No. Like the volcano in Yosemite. No, the volcano
You
in
said it. You
Yosemite.
said it, not me.
Well,
You said it, not me.
and I corrected it immediately,
You did.
but
You did.
something like Yosemite exploding and creating such a natural disaster that is beyond anything we've ever experienced. It'll have to be something like that. Now, the other point
Yeah.
that I think will never, that I know can never ever happen, there will never be a one world religion. There are too many people who have their own religions who will die for their own religions. And maybe that is what will create the one world government, is that if any force tried to force everyone on the planet to believe in one thing, there will be a massive world war in trying to enforce that type of thing. Even if you try to do it in America, you will create a civil war in America.
I think in places like, for instance, America, I think the people are already pushing for it. Christian nationalism, they're going along. They're doing it willingly.
And
Many people are already doing it willingly. Don't even know they are.
And they will go to war. They will go to war with the Baptists, the Methodists, everybody else. It will never happen.
I'm sure. You see, the whole ecumenical brother that was on here a little while ago was kind of onto something with the ecumenical movement. Like the Pope of Rome, right, and our country as well, are really working hard at bringing these denominations back together. We saw this in Charlie Kirk's event, right? We saw Catholics and Protestants merging. Who would have thought? Like the definition of a Protestant is to protest against the Catholic Church. Who would have thought today that they would be uniting? They're uniting today upon points of doctrine.
They were uniting.
That is happening, my brother.
They were uniting on the points of racism and sexism. They were not uniting.
They are uniting though. On whether it's good things, bad things, they are uniting, which in itself is quite the phenomenon because, I mean, you know, by definition, Protestants are supposed to protest against the heresies of the Catholic Church, against the Catholic way.
And the moment, if they were to unite, it would start, and they would try to force their ideals, which would be the same fascism of the little mustache dude. Then
right?
it would inspire a war within this country, and then
it would end in persecution. It would end in death.
And then
it would end in persecution, like it's happened before.
And then
history repeats itself.
And once that's over, they will infight amongst themselves at that point. Let's say they win and they eradicate the people of color or severely reduce to the level of persecution at the Jim Crow or slave level in America. Then they will fight amongst themselves in the same way that they fought amongst themselves that created our Civil War. There would be no way a one religion would ever function in America. It just won't happen.
No, it doesn't last long. Like according to the biblical account, it doesn't last long. So I agree with you on that. It's not a system, you know, destined to succeed. Obviously not. It's a recipe for disaster, and it's exactly what the devil would want. Ultimately, is a huge mess. You know what I mean? And
when you look at it from a world's perspective, it will never happen, period. Ever.
I don't know. I mean, I can't look at history and say historically speaking, it's impossible for us to end in a situation like that, because what we see in history is time and time again. That is what history shows. Babylon was a world. They forced their religion on everybody, and the censors.
It's never happened in history. That's the point. It has never happened in history where the world was under one religion.
Okay, it wasn't. It didn't reach there, but it was well on its way. Like that was Rome's aim. That's what they were aiming for, and they were pretty close. Let's be realistic. They were pretty close.
No, they weren't. They were nowhere near close. You're looking at Western history and making that world history. They were never close. They could never.
Got a Roman church. I'm Spanish, right? I know, like, I live in Miami, dude. Everybody in the South Americas, in the Amazon area, dude, I don't know a city in the world that does not have a Catholic church. Like, they spread like cancer. They spread more than any other entity or any other organization has spread. The Catholic Church is the biggest entity in the world. They literally own the reserve banks. They have like unknown amounts of
They don't own
wealth.
the reserve banks. That's conspiracy theory stuff, man. But they
Okay, I'll grant you. I don't know that for sure. But I can know from my observation, anywhere I go in the world, there's Catholic churches there. Anywhere.
Have you ever been to Dubai?
Anywhere. I travel quite a bit. Where?
You ever been to Dubai?
I haven't been to Dubai.
No Catholic churches.
Not a single Catholic church in Dubai?
Nope.
Good for them.
You know about the Muslims, though.
Good for them.
You ever been to Iran?
But every mosque used to be a Catholic church.
I have not been to Iran, no.
It's never been a Catholic church.
Many mosques used to be a Catholic church.
Yeah.
Most mosques historically used to be a Catholic church before they became a mosque.
There's places in the Middle East. I do, because look, I believe that
the Catholics never made their way into control over Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Iran, Iraq.
Have you heard?
No.
Have you heard the theory? Have you heard this theory? Have you heard the theory that the Roman Catholic Church created Islam to create a opposition or an army against Jews and real Christians?
I've heard the conspiracy.
Have you ever heard that theory?
I've heard the conspiracy theory of that, but that theory is completely debunked because Ibn Sahi utilized Islam to help create the Arab nation so that he can conquer through the Levant and then on through North Africa. So it wasn't their contact with the Catholic Church and them doing this under the Catholic Church. He saw Islam being utilized to galvanize the people into war and then utilize that motivation to be able to conquer Syria, conquer Jordan, conquer the Levant, and then go on through North Africa and conquer, and then the Iberian Peninsula. But no, Islam had nothing to do, its creation had nothing to do with the Catholic Church.
I mean, I don't want to get into that debate because I don't have, the evidence with me, and that's not something that's like provable like over a short chat like this. But I would argue that there is substantial evidence to prove that I mean, you look at their own Quran, right? Like a lot of that is based off of the Hebrew.
It's based off the Abrahamic religions, but it was a small sect of Mohammedans that Ibn Sahi and there's another dude, I forgot his name, that they
why did Muhammad marry a Catholic lady? Like, what's that lady's name that he married again? I can't remember her name, but he married a Catholic woman that was older than him, by the way, who could probably kind of manipulate him. But all the same, there's a video by Walter White called "The Islamic Connection." I think you might find that pretty interesting. It's called "The Islamic Connection" by Walter White, and if you look at their symbolism, right? So So if you look at the 8-point star, right? For example, the Islamic star, the 8-point star,
he married.
that's used like
He married Muhammad, married Khadijah, and he married Maria. And
okay.
So Khadijah was not a Catholic woman. One of his wives, she was a Coptic Christian, she wasn't Catholic. Maria was a Coptic Christian, she wasn't a Catholic Christian. So these are conspiracy theories based on the slight implications in order to manifest it into some type of thing like that. But we've gotten like 11 miles away from what the subject matter is today.
We have a little bit. Yeah.
No, a whole lot of it. But
yeah, it is. I'm being too modest. You're right.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, this idea of a devil is a man-made.
I always drag you out there.
Yeah. I reel it back. But it is a man-made creation. The serpent is not the devil. The Lucifer, the serpent is just a creature that was created at the time frame of Adam, right after Adam, actually. The serpent was supposedly created. Lucifer is the planet Venus. It is not a being. Satan is a title or a class of angels. And the War in Heaven comes from a fan fiction novel of the books of Enoch. So it has no validation. It is just fan fiction. And this dragon Leviathan is not the serpent. It's not the serpent of ancient times. It's a totally different literary character that was created in Ezekiel and Revelation. Yeah.
Did you see the Leviathan?
Yeah, the Leviathan or the dragon. That's the Leviathan and the dragon are the same. Those are the only ones that's the same. That was written about in Revelation. Revelations were referring to Ezekiel and Isaiah, and Isaiah are referring to the Ugaritic literature, which is talking about a 7-headed dragon.
Who's claiming that the Leviathan is the devil? Is that I've never looked at
a Christian thing, that the dragon in Revelation is the devil.
Well, I believe that the devil is referred to as the dragon, but I don't think he's a literal dragon.
And the devil is the word. The devil is just the Greek interpolation of Satan, which is still the Satan is a title. Is just a title, or it is the actions that a person or an angelic being takes. It is not the embodiment of a being. Based on the biblical literature.
Let me ask you, Lorenzo, what it could not be connected. I don't know, but
okay.
What is your take? Like,
okay, yeah,
do you not see, evidence of an evil transcending evil in the whole Charlie Kirk thing, this whole Christian nationalist movement? Like, what do you see there? Is that just men being men, no supernatural influence? This is all just normal human activity?
Yeah, it's just man being man. That's it. And
reality truly is stranger than fiction, then, my friend.
Yeah, it is, because it's just people. People have done, before there was the invention of an evil being, evil deity, people killed each other. People stole from each other. People warred against each other. And this is before any Hebraic literature was ever written. The Sumerians fought the Akkadians, and then they unified, and then they conquered a whole bunch of people throughout Mesopotamia, from the Persian Gulf up to the Mediterranean. And they didn't have a concept of the devil. So this is just people. And here's the way you can understand how people can choose. The Panari tribe in Venezuela had no concept of guilt or sin. And through the 5 years that a missionary was there, they only saw one crime, and that one crime wasn't even punished. So when people don't have these concepts, they were just good to each other and worked in unity with each other. So
You don't find it a little curious that all these different civilizations, ancient, even more throughout history, no matter how separated they are from the world, they all have a story about a dragon. The Japanese have a dragon, Chinese have a dragon, we have dragons, Europe has dragons, the Aztecs had dragons. Like the dragon is all over the place. Like you don't think that's a little curious at the least? It's just interesting.
No, because we've identified why they wrote these types of stories. When they discovered what we call dinosaur bones, they made
Right.
They made their dragon stories from fossilized
So
bones.
this is just a fascination with dinosaurs that all cultures had because they all make them a type of idol figure. Like we see that many of these cultures, majority of them, they're involved in their mythology. They're involved somehow in their spiritual, stories.
Yeah,
You think that that's just
most stories of dinosaurs and giants derive from, we found a big ass femur, it must be a giant man. We found a head that looks like a giant lizard, it must be a dragon. Beyond that, that's where these stories come from.
I mean, the thing is that the word dragon originally simply just meant like a dinosaur. I mean, we use it now like a myth. Originally, the word dragon was not necessarily a mythological thing. Dragon was used in the context of like, referring to a dinosaur or, a big creature or something like that, big reptile. So, I mean, there's different context of the word.
Yeah, but it all just comes from them finding big bones. There's
But
no.
So, for example, when you say that we find big bones, we found big skeletons. We found a 12.5-foot skeleton of a human.
No, we didn't. No.
Are those fake? Are those fake?
Yes, those are conspiracy theories. Most of those photos have been determined to have been faked. Most of the stories are fake. There's absolutely no proof of any of those things. And plus the 3-cube law, no human in any time of existence can ever be that big. No humanoid form could ever be that big. 3-cube law disallows it. A person's bones would be crushed if they go beyond, if they get 8 to 9, higher 8 to 9 feet, your bones begin to be crushed. So there's absolutely no way you would grow. You can never grow to 12 feet. No human.
Unless their bones were a lot more dense. Like we know that prehistoric times, for example, we've all seen the mosquito that's about that big, right? We've all seen it. It's a regular mosquito. Its anatomy is the same anatomy of our time mosquito, but it was bigger. We find many fossils of creatures that we have today. They were just much bigger, right? Perhaps there was better oxygen.
And we've never found a hominid that existed during those time frames.
We've never found a 9-foot human being.
There's never been a hominid. When the Earth had more oxygen and you had megafauna, it's megafauna and mega something else. Big animals and big plants and big mosquitoes and all that.
Right.
There were no hominids. We've never found a hominid that existed during those time frames. Every hominid bone or skeleton we have found has been during the time frames where the oxygen levels wasn't at that high, and the animals and the insects were much smaller. So we've never found a hominid during that era.
Do you believe in the evolution theory?
Most of it. The parts that we can prove. The parts that are still theory, I'm waiting for the proof.
I think there's proof of devolution, that we're devolving.
And I wouldn't say devolving, I'd say we're adapting.
I think that's pretty evident. You don't think so?
No.
What do you think about places like Baalbek? Thousands of years, these sites where Baalbek, like the temple of Baalbek and Talassa temple, these ancient civilizations that did things that, like, for example, Baalbek, they had like 1,500 ton stones. They quarried, cut and move them around. Like, we can't even lift those stones today. We have no idea how they even did this. They carved into like elaborate, animal sculptures and life size. Like we don't even know. We don't have no idea how they quarried and moved. Like, the biggest stone we've ever moved today is 340 tons, and these guys were quarrying and moving around 1,500 ton stones in Baalbek, and like building like these giant like cathedrals and stuff. Like, what does that say about our ancient civilizations? I mean, I don't think primates built those temples.
It just means that because they were using techniques and technologies that we are unaware of, doesn't mean that they were giants. Like, there was a man.
I'm not necessarily saying they're giants. They were not.
You're breaking up. I don't understand. Don't know what you're saying.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was in a tunnel there for a second. Yeah, I'm not trying to claim that necessarily they were giants, although I believe the giants were involved. But I think the main thing is that these people were advanced. These people were more civilized and had more. They were more technically advanced than we are today. But that's what the evidence shows. That's what cutting and quarrying 1,500 ton stones. That's what that says. That they had technology that we don't even know of. Like, we literally don't even know how. Well, they claim that they don't know how. But
that doesn't make them more technologically advanced simply because they were able to do something that we are unfamiliar with today. I can say that we're more technologically advanced because they didn't have the internet. They didn't have satellites. They didn't have cars. So they weren't technologically advanced than we are because they didn't have a car that you're riding in right now.
I don't know that they didn't have vehicles. I mean, there's ancient hieroglyphics that show them in vehicles. I don't know that for sure.
But we don't see any. We see hieroglyphics of it. We don't see evidence of it. So
okay,
there could be.
I would say I don't know. I simply don't know if they had vehicles or means of transportation or not.
So determining that they were more, but your statement was that they were more advanced than we were. To say that
here's what we do know.
You could be more advanced in this sector, but it doesn't make you more advanced in these sectors. So could they have known things? Were they more advanced in how they in certain constructing of these monoliths and things of that nature? Sure. But I've seen video recording of one man moving these 1-ton stones, 2-ton stones, using ropes and pulleys and all the kind of contraptions that he was using. So yeah.
So I'll grant you that, but we do need to take into consideration that many aspects, many things, being able to cut and quarry and move 25 miles, a 1,500-ton block, says many things about a civilization. It says, number one, these guys have tools. All right, it's just humanly impossible to do this without tools. Number two, these guys have some kind of, transporting device. Like I was saying, with our best machinery today, the biggest stone that we have ever lift and move is 340 tons. That's a really big stone. That doesn't even come close to these blocks that are quarried in Baalbek, in the Baalbek temple. So there's, then you got the Meiqing quarry in China. Like, those are even bigger. Like, so that says a lot of things. Technology, they have things that we can't do. They did things that we cannot do today.
Yeah, and we do things that they couldn't do.
I agree, but all the same, like, I can't really say for sure, well, these guys didn't have a means of transportation. In my case, like, from my observation, they do have transportation because they transported a 1,500-ton block 25 miles. So why would I assume that they didn't have means of transportation?
What I'm saying is I didn't think they didn't have means of transportation. I'm saying they didn't have the same means that we have today. In the same way, that's what I'm saying. So you can say that for them, for instance, we know how to make steel. They didn't know how to make steel.
I disagree. They had better steel than we have today.
Where's the proof?
Look, the proof is in the Colossal Temple. The Colossal Temple is like the third
Steel.
hardest type of, huh?
The has steel.
Better steel. I don't even know if it was steel. Who knows? It might have been titanium. Whatever they were working with is beyond our understanding. Because if you look at the Colossal Temple, right, it's basically a temple chiseled, right? It's carved into a side of a mountain, right? It's like the third hardest stone in the world, right? And there isn't any. They don't even have any chisel marks. So whatever they were doing this with is beyond even our understanding. Like we don't even understand. We can't even begin to understand how these people were cutting into a mountain. They cut an entire city into a mountain. There isn't a single loose rock. It's all carved. All the hallways, all the rooms, everything is chiseled. Or whatever they did, I don't even know what it is. They don't even really know. But it's all done into.
That's fantastic. That's great. I don't know about what you're exactly talking about because I may, but I may not because I may not be understanding the exact name that you're saying. But
if you look at Colossal Temple, look at the Colossal Temple. Defies everything. Defies the whole narrative.
Is that the one in India?
That is in India. Yeah.
Okay, so I do know which one you're talking about.
Defies everything. Defies everything that we know about ancient civilization. Absolutely out the window. Everything we think we know should go right out the window.
That does not make them more advanced because they had one or two things that we can't figure out. It doesn't. We have a plethora of things that they would marvel at if those same people time traveled to now.
Part of the point I'm making is that it takes a plethora of things to make something work like that, to make a temple like that. It's not just like one tool. We're talking many things. Anti-gravity. They're talking anti-gravity. Like, how do you move a 1,500-ton stone?
Those are just theories as far as anti-gravity. The theory of using sand.
Right. Exactly. We can only speculate. But the fact is that they did move it. We do not know how we would move it today.
And then they would see a rocket and be like, "Oh my damn, what the hell is that?"
I don't know that for sure. I mean, I don't know that they might not have.
You see how the contradiction in your statements are. You don't know how they would respond, but you are responding to them.
I don't know that.
You're
responding. I can't say that they would surprise out of their plane. Why do you say that? But you're
putting it in a sense that as if they may not marvel at our technology today, but yet we have to marvel at their technology and put them advanced ahead of us. There's no way, and the middle ground is we have shit that they would marvel at. And we are seeing things that we marvel at. It doesn't make them more advanced than us because there are some things that we don't know how they did it.
I think certain things say a lot more than people are willing to admit in regards to things that they were able to do.
Okay.
Moving a 1,500-ton stone, cutting it, pouring it, and then moving it into a temple.
Carlos, we're going in a circle here, and I got like 6 people who are waiting to get on.
You do your thing, Lorenzo. I appreciate you having me, brother.
I appreciate it. Next time we're going to stand on subject next time.
Yeah. I believe it.
All right. Obi, you have waited very patiently. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you having me on, brother.
After Obi, I'm coming back to TikTok, and then I go back to YouTube and Facebook.
I just wanted to, first I wanted to say, man, I like your channel a lot. It's kind of hard, like, I don't know. Well, I think you said you kind of you deconstructed from Christianity like years ago, but it happened for me like later on in life. So, and there's not many people like in my, my circle that are even at where I'm at, in my experience. Can't even have the conversations with them because they're so, they're so stuck in that, in that way of religion. But touching on the topic with the devil, Um, Me personally, I feel that the whole concept of it, if you're going back to the ancient times, probably is you know civilizations that were in rule, because I believe they didn't really they didn't really use the term religion. I believe that there was just a culture. If you were a part of a civilization, there was a culture, and it was a part of your life. What I'm saying? It was, so whatever the laws were, whatever morality was set to be, um, and then they deified the culture with stories and you know uh I guess they attach things to evil, so the
Mhm.
evil gets deified, with the concept of evil or a devil or a demon, and then of course the good is your God, your good God and stuff like that. And I feel like that's probably what the rulers use to keep people civilized with whatever laws and statutes they put in order. Rather said it came from them as human beings. They say it was ordained by something higher, something bigger, and that probably kept the people in order as far as morality and how to live life civilized. And but being on the subject, being the person, a civilian within the civilization, and that you're already indoctrinated with that stuff. You're already conditioned with it from an early age. So if you feel like you did something that went against that, against the moral of the law or the code, whatever it is of the culture, um, instead of just, taking on the responsibility and saying that, hey, I made this decision, I made um, this choice on my own. It's kind of like been indoctrinated and embedded in us to humans like to look for blame instead of taking the people, instead of taking the accountability and say, oh, you know what, I took this didn't belong to me, but I took it, but the devil made me do it, evil made me do it. And that's just like an excuse thing. And I don't feel I think that's what Christians kind of hold on to, because Christianity kind of allows you to, you know, um, Christianity allows you to, the story is what you're born into sin, so you need redemption. Your redeemer is what, Jesus, and then you can be forgiven for your sins and stuff that you do. You have to repent and all this stuff, and then it gives you this concept of the devil. So you have to, you're supposed to be, you're fighting that struggle every day. When in reality, it's just a battle within yourself. If you want to do good, you do good because you want to do it. If you want to do a good act, an act of morality, you do it because you want to. If you allow yourself to be, I guess, I don't know, if you allow yourself to be persuaded into doing something that goes against that, it's not evil that makes you. I'm not you now. Yeah, sometimes you could be under the influence of maybe drugs, alcohol stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you in your sober mind, and you choose to do something that goes against whatever morality code is for your culture. Or well, I'm saying culture because I'm including religion in it, and that's a choice that you make. But I guess it's easy for people to just say, "Oh, the devil, evil made me do it, demons," and that's just stuff that we learned. If we didn't know about religion, then we would just be like we living right now. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if there's any nations that their laws for their civilization is governed by, that they claim that it's governed by a higher power. I believe it's governments now, and the policies and stuff are, they're governed by humans. I don't know what nations still say that, oh, they're ordained by God or a higher power to govern people with laws like that. And I feel like it's
Just
either you
just the Arab monarchies,
just a who?
the Arab monarchies,
Oh, okay, okay. They still
and probably you can probably throw Monaco in there at a very westernized secular version of it.
Okay, okay. Yeah. See, I mean, like once I kind of like, you know, I guess yeah, like deconstructed from this religion. I'm not saying nothing is wrong with. I think people really it's tradition. Um, it's traditions, and people just like to hold on to those things. But if you cannot separate that the concepts, the stories, the lessons, the teachings that came. I'm just gonna stick to Bible. I know there's different religious texts for different religions, but if you can't separate that, hey, these things came from man. Somebody had to organize these things. I didn't even know. It took me later on in life. I didn't even know the difference. I didn't know there was like a canon and then an apocrypha, like
Right.
that there was, there was a council that decided, oh, this is what's going to be put in the canonized Bible. So there's so many different teachings and stories that, but they all came from man. To say that, oh, it came ordained from a God is, if that me, I don't believe in that, because like kind of like what you were saying earlier, there's no evidence of this type of stuff. And at some point, people hit it at different points in their experience in life, but at some point, reality has to kick in over, faith of the unknown and stuff like that. So, that's just what I felt about like the whole devil thing. Like I just feel like it's an excuse for, for blame to blame. Oh, you did something wrong. It's easy to say this thing that doesn't even exist made me do it. Where even if you say you heard a voice or something that's because you didn't hear an external voice, it was internal. So that was just you battling with yourself uh, to make a decision. And if you allowed your morality to be, you decided to do something that went against morality, whatever that is in your culture, then that was your choice.
Yeah. So, like biblically, if you look at it from the biblical standpoint, when you first start out with the story of the serpent,
Yeah.
then there was a level of personal accountability for whatever transgressions you had against this God. And the punishment, the God of the Bible in the Genesis story is both uh, the good God and the Satan, the adversarial God, because he was an adversary to Adam and Eve at the point in time that they disobeyed him, according to this story. And he dealt out the punishment, and they had to accept their own punishment for what they did. So they had accountability. But then by the time you get to the Abraham story, no longer does the ideas of the book start shifting to where a scapegoat starts to be the way that you would give your sins over and place them on something else. So all your iniquities was there. And then we get into the Moses era, and now it's these laws and rituals and rites of, if you do something wrong, then you have to kill some other animal or make some other sacrifice in order for you to have forgiveness, because now it's still this God. At the whole time frame is still this God is the one doing the punishing and the blessing. So he is both the God and the Satan, right? It's
Hmm.
not to the Job story that you see someone takes over the office of Satan, which is just an adversary. And then you see other angelic beings, like the story of Lot, when the angelic beings are the adversaries to the people who are in Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's like the Satan behavior is something that can be attached to anything, whether it's a person or it's a god or an angel of this God. As we move into the uh, second century BCE, when they learn about Ahura Mazda and Agramenia under the Persians, they start shifting to a being. This is when Judaism develops a demonic being that rules over everything, that is evil. And then, of course, the fan fiction of the books of Enoch are then written, which then creates a storyline for this evil being.
Mm.
Well, in creating that storyline, by the time you get to the New Testament, now they have a devil, and the devil is tempting Jesus, and the devil is the one that caused Judas to do what he had to do. The devil is the one that put the demons in the legion boy, and then the devil is the one that caused the blind man this, or the blind person, or these sorts of things. Even though the Jesus kind of contradicts that aspect of it, because he says that it's neither the father or the mother's sin that caused the boy to be blind. So
Mm.
it matured into this thing where there is a evil deity and there's not. But for the overwhelming majority of Judaism and Christianity, there wasn't this evil deity. Well, Christianity always had this evil deity, but the overwhelming majority of Judaism, there wasn't an evil deity. And yeah, I agree with you. It's now taken on the role of people uh, utilizing that in order for them to not only absolve themselves of their evil, but it also gives them the opportunity. And Isaac said this in the comments, so I'm gonna give him his credit. It also gives people the opportunity to go do their evil and then have somebody to blame and somebody to repent from it so that they can go and do it again and again and again.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Which all of it just demonstrates it's an indoctrination of people. It is an indoctrination of the people. And for those who want to continue to do these things, it gives them that excuse to go do it, which is not the majority. I disagree wholeheartedly with what Carlos was saying in that part. It is not the majority of people who say, I want to go out and do some evil today.
Oh
Or
no,
I
no, I
have
would
this
never say that.
desire to
No,
go out and do some evil today.
no.
Most people do not think that way on a daily basis.
Mhm.
So, but for those who do, they know they can utilize this. You've been cheating on your spouse for 6 years,
Yeah.
and the devil is just on me, and the devil just keep making me go. Every time I see
Yeah.
um, Raquel, every time I see Raquel, when I'm at home, I feel guilty about it, and I pray and I ask for forgiveness when I'm looking at my wife and the kids. But then when I see Raquel at work, she looks so good. The devil made me go. It's
Yeah.
bullshit.
It is.
Yeah,
It
it's a
is because it's really it's an internal struggle or an internal battle, whatever you want to call it. But it's not anything that an outside entity is battling with you or forcing you to do it. These things are, and I understand how the text, like it's basically like philosophies, right? It's I understand how the text is worded, and
Mhm.
it says it like that, which is fine. But when you get to a certain age in life, or you have to learn to decipher that that's just a way that those people were trying to teach people, so that to give an understanding. It doesn't mean literally that, but it's at the end of the day, it's on you to make the decisions that you want to make in life. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Whether it be like you said, where and these things differ. Morality differs from culture to culture. So what one culture might call fornication or something like that might not be the same in another culture. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about whatever culture that you living in, and that you how you want to live your life, and upholding whatever the moral standards of that is,
Mhm.
and do it on your own. Do it. Don't try to say, oh, I like the funny thing is, like, people say, oh, how can you pray or ask to win the lottery? The God does not, nothing. The numbers has nothing to do with uh what I'm trying to say is, if you accomplish something in life,
Uh-huh.
you're the one that got the credit for that. You accomplished that because you worked towards it. And if you did a crime, whatever civilization you live in, if it's against the law, you did a crime, you broke that law.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I wish that more people. I know it's hard to, break away from that type of thinking, Cause I grappled with it for a long time because you see the thing with religion is like it's passed down from your parents, the people who really created you, and when they telling you the people who actually created you that feed you, provide for you, and they're telling you that this is the way, you naturally are gonna go with that. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of takes a while to break away from that. You have to, because these teachings tell you don't question, this, like, basically. And then the whole thing, I never liked that thing about, oh, you were born, you were cursed from birth, or however it's worded, you were born
Yeah,
into sin.
born
Like,
into sin.
I wasn't born into sin. I didn't do anything. Yeah, I don't even know who Adam and Eve is,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, a lot of them nowadays say that you're born into a sinful world instead of saying that you're born into sin. But
So
it's
what is
still,
the so what is
I'm
the
not
what,
even born into a
so
sinful world.
what is the actual curse or whatever, if from a Christian view, what is the curse, what is it, why do Christians need redemption? What is that I always understood it was because of the Adam and Eve,
Yeah, it's
that thing.
it, it's from the Adam and Eve legend story that they get the whole idea that you need redemption. Even though Ezekiel says that no longer shall the sins of the father be cast down to the son, nor the sins of the son to the father, that you're now responsible for your own sins. So, uh, but then in the New Testament, they make statements saying that you were born of sin or born into a sinful world. So that's where that whole doctrine, and that's all it really is. It's a doctrine. Uh,
Hmm.
that's where all of that comes from. And then you're also right about the fact that depending upon where you're born, what country you're in, what is considered evil, which since evil is very subjective, well, morality is subjective. Uh,
Hmm.
you can in America, you are committing a sin if you marry more than one person, right? Because you've broken the law, right?
Yes.
So it's considered a sin.
Hmm.
But if you go to another country that allows you go to Saudi Arabia or Dubai or United Arab Emirates, then
Hmm.
polygamy is not outlawed, so it's not a sin. And plus,
Yep.
they're under different religious teachings as well.
Yeah.
But the same way in those countries, homosexuality is illegal, and you could be, given a death sentence for it. But you come to America, homosexuality is not illegal. Uh,
Yep.
but then you go
I
to
mean,
certain states
you
like
can go.
Mississippi still have sodomy laws. So
Hmm.
technically, if you are a male, it's illegal. But even if you're doing that with a woman, it's still illegal, right?
Yes. Yep.
So legalities have determined what we make as our morality, we make into laws.
Hmm.
And that is completely subjective. And if those moralities can be subjective for different countries, then there is no one devil that's producing evil, because what's evil in one country is not evil in another country.
There you go. You said it better than I could. That's basically what I was saying, because you can go
Yeah,
even
I just
deeper.
cut the circle and made a straight line.
Yeah, because you can go deeper, like, in Africa, you have, uh where marriage ages, women get married as teenagers. That's illegal here. That's illegal in America.
Depending,
Who Say it again?
depends. You can get married at 15 in Mississippi or Alabama.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There are
Oh, okay.
certain ways, certain criteria, but you can do it.
Okay, I didn't know that. Oh yeah, I guess Aaliyah and R. Kelly got married legally, right?
Oh, I
when she
have
was.
no idea about it.
Okay, yeah, I thought I heard something like that.
I've heard stories of it, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
But my point is, morally, people can view that morally. They can view that like, oh, it's okay, and some people can view that it's not okay. But
Right.
if there's supposed to be one true God or one whatever, is supposed to be able to. That should have been. There should be no blurry lines.
No,
You
it
know what I
shouldn't be,
mean?
but yeah, they are. Now, what the religious person would say is that if everybody just followed God of the Bible, then there wouldn't be any blurred lines. But what you have is 42,000 different denominations who all are thinking that they are following the one true teachings of this God, and yet the lines are still blurred like a big dog. Even
Yeah.
with something simple as polygamy, you
Yep.
have Christians in countries, because even though I use Saudi Arabia as an example, you still have Christian-led countries in certain in places. I don't want to say a country and it not be one of those countries, but they allow for polygamy, and yet they are more Christian ran.
Hmm.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, that I mean, because I can tell you polygamy in Africa, that's not that especially the culture, my family heritage from my father,
Mhm.
they polygamy, the reason it's seen as essential for the culture is because um every woman this whole every there's one man for every woman is not realistic because that's just not how the world works. So to keep the group, to keep the civilization going, if a man is able to take care of multiple families, if they have that wealth and they're able to do it, it's not looked as how maybe in Western civilization where it's looked as like sexualized. It's not about sexual. It's not about a sexual thing. It's more just about sustaining the civilization.
Yep. And just that I'm clear on some of the things I said, like in South Africa, you can participate in polygamy. Um, they have they have it there, and of course it's tribal based. But as far as the country itself, it will recognize that, even though it is a heavily westernized Christian country. Kenya is a mixture of Muslims and Christians. So is like Nigeria, but in
Hmm.
the areas of Nigeria that are under Sharia law, then polygamy is recognized. But as far as the whole country, they do not make it illegal for you to
Hmm.
be. And like I said, Kenya, Niger, Mali, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Togo, these countries allow for polygamy,
Hmm.
and because they're not America, they're not Europe. They didn't have the full press of Roman style Christianity and kept some of their tribal customs even within their Christianity. So they allow for those in their laws, whereas others don't.
Hmm.
So what is the morality then? Where is this devil? Where is this God that says that this is the right way? Because those Christians in those countries would argue against American or European Christians because they still maintain some of their tribal laws within their Christianity.
Yep.
It's kind of like here in San Antonio. You will see all these Christians, Christian Spanish people, and I'll be down there as well, participating in the Day of the Dead festivals here in a week or two, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because it's part of their tribal traditions before the Spanish conquistadors came into Mexico.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Same thing in Africa. In like you mentioned Nigeria. That's where my father's family. That's where they're from. And yeah, they were colonized by the British. So with that brought in Christianity. There's also Islam there too. Now, before that, and a lot of people don't know this, but before that, all of these people call them tribes, but they're just ethnic groups, and they had their own culture, their own spirituality, their own gods, and they didn't full. If you go there now, like as time evolves, yeah, they become more westernized, but it's never fully Western. It's never so they still have some of their cultural traditions that they practice that does
mhm,
not really coincide with Christianity or Islam. So to me, I don't even know really any culture that's a person, like, let's say a person that calls himself a Christian. I don't really know anyone who's truly practicing that original Christianity, because all you're doing is you're taking aspects from
Mhm.
from the religion that you choose to adhere to and follow, and mixing it within the culture or civilization that you're living in. Because
Yeah.
right now, yeah, like in America, there's stuff, there's some laws that if you're a civilian in the civilization, that you have to adhere to, that it doesn't truly go with what religion says to go with. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And and then the fact of the matter is there is no original Christianity. No one would ever know what there is in original Christianity, because from day one, there have been variations of Christianity. Christianity has never shared this golden era where everybody was in lockstep agreement with one another. So it has always, from day one, been a split religion. So there is no one can ever pinpoint and say I'm following the true version of Christianity. That doesn't exist.
What is I mean, I never really did a deep dive. I mean, I was, I'm interested in stuff like that. But what is the um from my understanding, Christianity was like a sect of, I guess you say, a sect of the Jews that
Yeah,
basically broke away and started their thing. And then, I guess they said that they were following the teachings of Jesus, which, and me personally, I don't even believe that's like, you believe that's a real person? Like, historically, I don't think so,
it
right?
might have been a real person who claimed to be a Messiah, but not the biblical version, not the.
But wasn't there like multiple people who could be considered as Messiah? Because a lot of
Yeah,
the people that led the revolts
yeah, every year.
against they can be looked at as messiahs, right?
Every Passover in first century, there were people claiming to be the Messiah.
Okay.
And then the Jesus version of the story became more popularized. And then Paul had a version that he was teaching. The Thomasinians were teaching the different versions. The Sethians were teaching a different version. The Valentinians, the Marcions, you had everybody and their mama teaching a different version of this story once the legend became popularized. So
Mm-hmm.
no one knows what that first person who was first teaching it was actually saying. And because we have no writings of any of it, we don't have any writings to identify what is the primary way until decades later. And the oldest writings would, I think, are the letters of Paul. So the Paulinian versions would be some of the first version, but Paul is getting it from some other version,
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say I've always
some
heard it was
unknown
like
version.
Paul.
Yeah, but Paul getting it from some unknown version, because we have no idea where Paul got his versions from, or
Okay.
whoever this Paul is. I still think Paul was an agent of Rome. But let me let some other people get up here.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate I appreciate it, man. Good conversation, and
No problem,
keep doing
bro.
what you're doing, man. Good
Appreciate
channel.
you. Thank you. I will.
Mhm.
We're gonna go to the tickety top real quick. Well, not real quick, but we're gonna go to tickety top. Y'all gotta be patient. I do one person at a time. I know sometimes you don't have much, but shit, I forgot the name that I had just put. Okay, I don't see. He must have ran out of time. I know this person's been waiting too for a long time. Okay, see if Charlie comes up. Trying to be patient with the TikTok. It says that Charlie is trying to come on, but I'm not seeing Charlie. It's not working. It's just doing the spinneroonie thing. We just going. I know I gave it about 30 seconds. Let's see if 3T comes up. If 3T doesn't come up, then Out of Babylon is going to come up. Oh, 3T.
Hey, what's up, my brother?
How you doing?
Hey, I'm great, man. I'm great, man.
You're over 21,
Hey,
right?
listen, man. I believe like you believe.
Okay. You're over 21, right? I gotta ask that question on TikTok. I gotta ask the question when the person comes up on TikTok if you're over 21. Can you hear me?
Say it again. I hear you now.
I said I have to ask on TikTok if you're over 21.
Oh yes, man. I'm 65.
All right, 65.
Okay.
He's 65.
And you know, I tell people this here, man. That's the first thing I ask people this here. You know, and because I told them, like I said, I don't believe in the Bible. I said I don't believe that no entity, whoever he is, made man from the dirt, blowed into that dirt, and that dirt started develop a brain, guts, and all kinds of shit, right?
Right.
And I said, now, how can, he said, you supposed to have put this man in the sleep and took a rib. Now, I asked people, I said, now, how did he take his rib? He had to do some type of incision in order to move this rib, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, but the question is, now, how can you take a bone and make a woman out of it? Right. So, you know, and I tell people, I said, man, listen, man, you know, when I was reading the Bible years ago, I said, you know, if God created everything, I said, how come we weren't living among dinosaurs? I heard y'all was talking about that earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, but it don't say nowhere in the Bible that we was living among dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I ain't read nothing about no damn dinosaur.
They'll try to claim that the behemoth was a dinosaur. Even though the Ugaritic literature makes the behemoth the seven-headed dragon.
Mm-hmm. And I asked, I said, how come every name in the Bible is European names?
Well,
I said, wait, if everything's supposed to be created in Africa, I said, how come there ain't no African names in there? You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when we was brought over here, we had African names.
Well, don't get too hard up on the names, man. That's just the Greek transliteration of the names. You know, the names were Sumerian. I mean, not Sumerian. The names were Aramaic names. Like the name would have been like Yeshua, not Jesus, or even Ius or Isus. It's just when they translated it into the Greek and then into the Latin and then into English, we get the Jesus, Isus, and Ius. But they couldn't translate Yeshua. So they couldn't translate Matthew's name, which, I mean, the way they translated Matthew's name from, I think it's Matthew or something like that, into Matthew. So that's all that is. It's all about who translated it. If it was the Egyptians, they would have given them Egyptian names.
I mean, regardless though, but still, I mean, why it got to be European names though?
Because they took control of the religion.
Okay. Now I tell people this here. I said, according to y'all scripture, I said, if the Romans is the ones that's supposed to have crucified Brother Justice, and then years turned around and formed the first church, and then they start calling the person that they crucified their Lord and Savior. Right? So I said, well, how can you believe in something, you know what I'm saying, that you know, that was created by some people that, you know, that y'all know is in y'all Bible, they crucified. I said, it wasn't no church when Jesus was alive.
Well, see, what they did was they didn't, if you could look at the early church, and this is why anti-Semitism grew, and it was so strong in Europe, is that for hundreds, over 1,000 years, they blamed the Jews for killing Jesus. The Romans didn't blame the Romans, they blamed the Jews for it. And so, and they were already mad at the Jews because they were revolting all over the Roman Empire. So they blame the Jews first, and then they follow the teachings of Paul because the Paul letters are more in line with the Roman thought process than the Jewish thought process. And that's why they didn't really follow the Matthew and Mark and Luke. Well, Luke they still follow, but Matthew and Mark they didn't really follow that as much because those are more Jewish written.
I mean, Paul, well, you know, his name was Saul before he changed his name to Paul, which is, to me, it's a self-made disciple.
Yeah, he is.
Because he was, I mean, according to the scripture, you know, that's why I say according to the scripture, because he wasn't even part of the Jesus disciples. You know, so people come out with this thing, the gospel of Paul. I said, but y'all got to read up on Paul. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to read up on Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I said, well, how can you open the Bible? First thing I asked is the whole Bible based on Christianity. Then I asked, I said, when I come to the so-called New Testament, because I say the so-called New Testament, because what I used to read a long time ago, Jesus said, I didn't come to bring you any new law. I came to force that of the old.
Right.
Right. So I asked people, I said, who was Jesus' father? Who was his daddy? You know, where's the 18 years of his life in there? Because the only thing we know about, he's just, the angel appeared to us. She was pregnant. He was born. He was 30. He was 33, and then he got crucified. You know, I ask questions because, see, I be wanting to know when people be talking about religion. I asked them, how old was Mary when she passed for him? You know what I'm saying? You know, do anybody can tell me that? You know, who wrote the beginning of the creation? You know, I mean, let me know something. You know, this is not something that, I mean, that I believe, you know, as an aspect of what it's saying. Okay, break it down to me. Don't break it nothing down to me, and it's always about Jesus, 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 God, Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You know, cause see, when you talk to me, you're talking to a God. You know what I'm saying? But when you talk to Jesus, I don't know who you're talking to. You did what I'm saying? Because see, I talk to Jesus all the time. Right? And and this is what I tell him. I say, he be sitting right here beside me, y'all. You know, and I said, we would be riding, we would be smoking shit.
I'm sure you mean that sarcastically, right?
Well, I mean, the reason why I say that, you know, even though I say it in a way to let them know, right? Many years that I done prayed and prayed and prayed. And I said, well, if y'all claim that God knows what you're thinking already and knows your heart, then why should I have to pray to him and get it and keep on or praying? You understand? So why should I have to get and constantly every day pray for something that he already know that what I need?
Right. You shouldn't have to.
I shouldn't have to.
But that keeps you under the wraps of the church, of the organization, and under the power of the people who created this religion. And pretty much every question that you have, I mean, those questions can be answered. People just don't like all the different answers the answer that comes about from those questions. I mean, the fact of the matter is Mary would have been somewhere around 14, 15, 16 years old when she supposedly got pregnant by the Holy Spirit, even though it's most likely she was just pregnant by Joseph and they just had sex before they had the ceremony.
And see, that's another thing. You know, you said she was impregnated by Joseph, but the angels are supposed to have appeared in a dream and told Joseph, do not be afraid to take on Mary as thy wife, because what just had preceded in her body was by the Holy Spirit. Because when he found out that she was impregnated, he wanted to send her away because he didn't want to make her a spectacle. So I tell people, when you go to the so-called New Testament and when the angel appeared onto Mary, this is exactly what I remember reading, because I had read the Bible in a long time, but it stated this in my grandmama's book, Bible, and it wasn't no King James Bible. It said, when the angel appeared unto Mary, she said, thou shalt be with a child. Mary replied, well, how can I proceed when no man had came in on to me?
Right.
Now, I'm going to tell you exactly what that angel said in my grandmama's Bible. That is why I was sent to come in on to you. Because I tell people, there's only one way for a woman to have a baby boy. Because if God wanted Jesus to be, then all he had to do is say, exist with the thought like he made Adam and Eve. But why would a woman have to go to 12 months or whatever, how long, 9 months of pregnancy to give birth to a baby boy?
Right. So what you have there is you have a situation when the writers of Matthew is trying to make Jesus fit into the Jewish prophecy, but Matthew, it demonstrates that Matthew truly didn't have a full grasp of the Jewish storyline. And so he created a story based on a misunderstanding of what Isaiah actually was prophesying. And I think it's Isaiah 45 or 47, that what Isaiah was prophesying when he said a young woman has given birth. To the writer, whoever Matthew is, took that and misunderstood it to mean a future pregnancy, not the fact that Isaiah was talking about a woman who had already was pregnant and had the baby, and that King Hazaz will defeat his enemies before this baby knows the difference between good and evil. So the writer of Matthew was not a scholar of Jewish text and took something and mistranslated it into creating the Mary narrative.
Okay, well, I'm saying this is what the Christians believe.
Yeah, that's what they believe.
You know,
but they just don't understand what they're believing.
Some believe that, I mean, they don't believe, I'm talking about in reality, if you're dealing with logic, because I tell people, I said, listen, I like to deal with logic. I said, it's not the point that my truth is true. You dig what I'm saying? It's just that I'm going to deal with logic from an infinite point of view. This is the way I see it. You dig what I'm saying? Now, you can see it the way you want to see it. I said, to me, you know what I'm saying? I got the whole 18 years of his life. Okay, you know, everything he did when he started the age that he was starting to preach. But I'm going to ask you this here. When you said Christians believe in the devil.
Yes, let's get
so
to that.
I know you've seen in the comment, I ain't never seen the devil. I want to know what he looked like. because see, I look at it like this here. Self could be the devil.
Who could be the devil?
Self.
Yeah. When every time you look in the mirror, you see the devil.
Straight up. Because if I want to, I can go out there and bring the devil out of me. Yeah. But I always try to stay on high. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not trying to stay in the low. Because see, this right here, you know, because I say, man, listen, man, you know, good is good and bad is bad. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what religion you believe in, what race you belong to, because it's good and bad in everybody.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? So my thing is I look at like this here. I try to live as long as I can. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to go through life, you know, because see, at a younger age, this is when I start. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in no angels with the wings on the backs and all this old stuff. That's a myth. It's just like people believe that an elephant is afraid of a damn mouse. But when you talk about angels and devils, I said, I don't believe in no heaven in the sky. I said, to me, you know what I'm saying, heaven ain't up, down, round, and below. Just open up your heart and the floor of heaven to come in. Because you living down here on earth, this is hell. You did. This is hell that we going through and has been going through for years.
Now, I'm gonna disagree with you.
You can't get to America.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I don't think that earth is hell. It depends on your perspective and where you're going through. See, that's the thing. Whether or not earth is heaven or hell is just as subjective as morality is subjective. Because if you are living, and it doesn't matter what you look like, but if you were living somewhere or in a state of being where everything is coming up roses for you, this is heaven. But if you're living somewhere or in a state where everything is coming up thorns, then it's hell. Right? And then that still brings about a perspective, because you can have a person, and this is one of the things that used to get me as a former active Marine, is that before I ever left this country, I thought Black people we are living in the hell of America, right? And I was super pro-Black back then. Until I went to other countries and I saw the state of being of other people. And I was like, shit, I might not be living in heaven. I may not be living in heaven in America, but I sure hell ain't living in the hell that they living in. You know, so it changed my perspective on my own personal condition, because my condition, as bad as it may seem, is nowhere near as bad as some of the lives of people that I've seen in other countries. You know?
Well, you know what? You know, in my teaching, I believe they said heaven and hell is not up, down, round, below. We are our own creators, and we make our own.
Exactly. And I agree that we make our own heaven and hell.
Say that because, see, I done been places, man, like you said, and I done met some so-called brothers and sisters, man, so-called Black brothers and sisters, man. And, you know, and like you said, when you go someplace else and you see their culture and the way they act, it's more different from the way we act over here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's everywhere. I mean, that's different other cultures as well.
Which is why
it's just not only our culture.
Yeah. And that's why there can't be a unified devil, because we have those different situations and different moralities all over the planet. So in the same way there's no unified God, there's no unified devil.
Well, like I said, you know, you got two selves. You got the higher self and your lower self. The devil's inside you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, it's good and bad in everybody.
Right.
You know, so I don't know who this Satan is. Because to me, Satan at one time was a god, or whatever he was up there, according to their scripture.
Satan is just a title.
You dig what I'm saying?
It's just a title.
Whatever type of fight he got into with them and got cast down and placed in the Garden of Eden.
Never happened.
You know, people got to understand.
Never happened.
This is what they believe in.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? That's the reason why I said so-called. You always say what they believe in. I don't say, I say according to the scripture.
Right, I got you.
What they believe in. You know, and you know, what's her name? Eve bit into an apple and her eyes was opened up and all this shit. I said, man, you know, none of that ain't true.
Exactly. None of it is. But let me let this other guy who's been waiting patiently get on here before I get off here.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Finish stroll.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, then, bro.
All right, bro.
Peace and love.
Love and peace. Big 65. I can't wait till I'm 55. I don't know what movie that's from, but some movie that was saying that. Out of Babylon. You up here on 2 different devices?
No.
Oh, it got you up here twice. Can you hear me?
Am I on?
Yeah.
I think I can. I don't know why it's acting like that. I'm trying to figure it out. Because it didn't do this the first time.
You sound muffled.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
But is there echo on your thing?
Somewhat. So I'm gonna take you down. I just posted the link again. I'm gonna take you down, but then come right back up, okay?
All right, let me put my TV off just in case that.
Okay. Try to get that audio right. With my hand there. We're out of that line. Everyone says apple. That's because of the Latin translation of the word malu, which means apple, and the Hebrew word for knowledge. And so it got confused in the Middle Ages or some shit like that, some time frame. And Isus is not pronounced Yasus. Yasus is pronounced Isus, and that's the Latin translation. The Greek doesn't have the Ya and Shu sound in it. That's why it was Ius. Or I saw that earlier in the comment. So you gotta, if you're gonna phonetically, those phonetics were wrong. Whoever posted that earlier. But it's Isus and Ius. All right, you back?
Yeah.
That is better.
Okay, yeah. I think it's more of the TV issue. But I was listening to you talk to the last person, and again, the Bible is in agreement with a lot of what y'all are saying. It's just using a parable or something simple to try to explain these things. And what they have done is took something and made it topical. Because even the Bible says
What
that.
do you mean by that?
Say what? With people?
No, what do you mean by that? The Bible has taken a parable and made it something.
No, I said the people who run the world has taken this parable and used it to mold the people into something topical. Because again, Satan is not something outside of ourselves.
Okay, I agree with you with that one, but the people who wrote this and was believing in this, they saw these beings in different forms and different beings throughout their belief system, and not as parables, but as actual beings that existed.
I know nobody today that saw something outside of what we see today.
Okay, you didn't hear what I said. The people who wrote it back in the day. So we got 9th century, 8th century, 7th century Hebrew people, Israelites. They believed that the Satan, for example, was a being that existed as one of the angels of God, and that was his title, was Satan, adversary. They believed literally that a serpent that was made out of the ground convinced Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They didn't confuse the two and say that they were one being, though. They they were the characters in the narrative, but they thought of them literally, not parabolically.
Okay, so according to the Bible, what is Adam?
What is what?
Adam. Who is Adam according to the Bible?
According to the Bible, is the first man.
The first man.
Yep.
And that's that a singular one person.
According to Genesis 2, yep.
Are you sure?
Wouldn't have said it if I wasn't.
I said, are you sure?
Yes.
Because I believe the verse says that he created man from the dust of the ground, gave him life, blew breath into him, male and female. He created them.
Nope.
Blessed them.
Nope.
And called their name is in plural, their name Adam.
I said Genesis 2. I didn't say Genesis 1.
I understand what you're saying, but Adam in the whole story of the context is plural.
You're mixing
it is a parable to singularize mankind. Adam is mankind, not just one person. So if we take this story literally, we literally believe that Adam gained life, and in 24 hours, he lost his wife and lost everything in 24 hours. This story can't be literal.
So what you're doing is taking Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 and you're merging them together. When Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 were never meant to be merged together, these were two separate tellings of what's supposed to have been the same creation story. Genesis 2 is actually written before Genesis 1. Genesis 1 was written to give a more detailed version of how the creation happened. But of course, Genesis 1 gets things in the wrong order, right? So it shows the imperfection of the story.
No, I think it just shows our misunderstanding of the story.
In Genesis 1, Adam. He never called him Adam in Genesis 1.
You're right. He did not. That was something different. So the question is, what's different in Genesis 2 from Genesis 1? I agree with you on all this. That's something different.
In Genesis 2, they're telling a direct narrative of a person that they believe that lived, that then had kids, and they have a lineage of children. One of the things that they get wrong is that in Genesis 1, the animals are created before man. In Genesis 2, the animals are created after Adam. So whoever the writers of the two different stories, the writer of Genesis, let me rephrase that. The writer of Genesis 1 made a mistake in how he represented the creation of Adam, because he placed the animal creation after the fact instead of before Adam.
I think I look at it a little different now.
I mean, how you look at it, and I'm not trying to be funny here, but how you look at it and what the literary archaeology shows is two different things. So how you look at it is your perspective. But the literary fact of it is that these were two different stories written by two different authors. Oh, he fell off. But these are stories written by two different authors at two different time frames, trying to tell a story. And then the secondary author, which is the author of Genesis 1, got portions of the story wrong. But the people who wrote it believed that Adam was an actual literal being, an individual being that existed.
I hear what you're saying, but what if because we're looking at it from the wrong perspective, we're seeing the story totally wrong? Again, I've learned through my journey to view the whole Bible as all will find salvation based upon the principle you just stated earlier, that energy is neither created nor destroyed. We can only change form.
Well, you can't look at the Bible as if it's speaking with one voice, because the Bible contradicts itself in the mentality, the behavior, the redemption.
I agree with all of these things.
So it is not speaking in one voice. So to look at the Bible in a totality of that would be an incorrect perspective to have on it, since it doesn't bear itself out to be that.
I agree with all of these things, but somewhere in that Bible, it is written to rightly divide the word of truth, correct?
No.
It is not written to divide the word of truth?
No. It is written, the Old Testament is written to give a creation history, a creation myth, and then after a creation myth, a history of a tribal group.
Again, I understand that, but in the Bible it's written that we are to rightly divide the word of truth.
Okay, but that's because it's written in there doesn't mean that is true.
I understand all of that, but how many truths are there if there's a truth?
There is no one truth when it comes to spirituality, because everybody can have their own perspective and thought process of what that one truth is. Spirituality is just as subjective as morality.
I mean, we're talking about branches of a truth. The truth is life.
The truth is, there are very few truths in the world, and those truths have nothing to do with the Bible, of how you should live, who you should worship, what happens, what is the purpose of life, and what is the afterlife, and
Here we go again. This goddamn phone. Here we.
What? I guess his phone is ringing or something like that. You still there, Babylon?
Hold on, give me a second.
This is where I make my smart ass comment of your old raggedy ass phone.
I gotta try to keep it away from my face. One touch and it goes somewhere.
Why did you
now it's
on the link? See, when you click back on the link like that, I think that's what's causing the disturbance. Hold on for a second. Don't do nothing. You don't do nothing, okay?
Okay.
All right, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah. You didn't drop from the broadcast.
Okay.
Clicking another link creates that distortion.
Okay.
But
I'm stay away from the phone.
See, anytime you say, what if we're looking at it from the wrong perspective? All you're saying is, I have my perspective, and then therefore my perspective is more correct. But without being able to back that up with some facts, it is all subjective.
I agree with these things. And I believe that words are irrelevant. But like I was saying, that the issue is trying to prove it, like you say.
Mm-hmm.
Devil, God, whatever the case may be, is trying to prove. And the only way I told you we can prove it, like I said yesterday, I believe is if we do what the Bible says. And today we should understand that the Bible says to love one another as we love ourselves.
If we do what the Bible says, Jesus said that not one tittle of the law shall pass before heaven and earth goes away. And since heaven and earth is still here, then if we did what the Bible says, then we should be owning slaves. Women should be sold off into marriage. If you think your woman is cheating on you, then you give her a dirt and some mixtures from the church floor.
Not true.
How is that not true? That's what the Bible says.
Not true, because I've already stated in multiple posts that the God of the Old Testament is not the Father of Christ.
So what you're saying is, don't do what the Bible says, just do what the New Testament says.
No, what I'm saying is, again, those laws that you stated are like opinions, and opinions are like buttholes.
Okay,
everybody got one.
So what is the law that Jesus is referring to in the New Testament?
The only law of God, to love one another. All that other stuff goes away. If I love you, I would never kill you. Nope. I would never steal from you. You will have to write about these things, because I would never do these things. It would never come into my mind.
Let me ask you a question then. Jesus says that you are to follow what the Pharisees teach you, and the Pharisees sits on the throne of Moses. What is sitting on the throne of Moses and doing what they are teaching you? What is that? What law then are you to follow?
I mean, all of these things are correct, but in order to properly follow the law, or any would-be law of quote unquote Moses, it is summed up in this: to simply love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Okay, so
anything goes away when you do that.
No, it doesn't. Let me tell you what love your neighbor means. Love your neighbor doesn't mean love everybody. In first century Judea, love your neighbor means to love your fellow tribesmen, your fellow ethnicity. It has no bearing on how you treat people outside of your ethnicity, which is why Jesus called that woman a dog.
I'm not arguing any of those things. And the same woman he called the dog, that lady, that so-called dog, through her own wisdom, Jesus commended her and healed her. Showing you 2 points. He told you that one, he was only for the lost of it, came for the lost children of Israel, but he healed her. Showing you that she was truly the lost children of Israel.
No, she wasn't. She was still a Canaanite.
The flesh makes her a dog. Her mentality, her way of thinking makes her a dog. Again, God gave everybody life. This is true. For the bad person and the good person. For the pedophile and for the person who never did anything.
Stop trying to, okay, I'm gonna mute you right now. Do not start yelling to overtalk me, because that will get you kicked real quick. So don't start yelling to overtalk me, so that you can get a point out, which is a point of your perspective and not a point of scholarly deduction of what actually is being said and what is actually happening here. Because you said he healed her. He did not heal her. He healed her daughter. You are then injecting your own thought process of her becoming a child of the Israelites because she thought a certain way, and non-Israelite is the flesh. No one in first century, which would have included the Jesus character, would have ever thought that way. Everyone in first century would have known and have thought that she is a Canaanite, not an Israelite, so Jesus didn't come for her. But since she accepted her oppressive role under Jesus, then he went ahead and healed her. So that's a bunch of modern day renegotiating of the text in order to fit how the doctrine of Christianity grew into a religion that accepts everybody. Now, I unmuted your mic.
I honestly believe that the way you view the history or the way people view.
You just blinked out like that. That's not me. Okay, your phone is messing up.
Hold on.
Okay, you back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
But that's my point. All this first century stuff, I don't understand any of that. I wasn't alive for that.
Okay.
All I can vouch for is the history that I see today while we're living. And if you want proof, let's bring proof of Satan, God, and what's going on right here and now.
No, you can't do that, because if you only read something based on your current modern day lifestyle or what's happening in the world today, then you have no idea. You are missing vital information about what the authors meant at that time frame.
I think I have an understanding of what was meant because it was all parabolistic.
No, it wasn't.
And I don't take any of these stories as literal. Like the virgin birth of a woman. We should know that it should take a man and a woman to physically create a child. So this story has to be parabolic.
No, it doesn't have to be parabolic. All it has to be is that people back then believed that that was possible, because they had multiple stories of those types of things happening.
And to understand the parable, Jesus told you later on in the story, he said that who is his mother and his father, but anyone who does the will of God. So that means that's who really birthed Jesus, or it was the people who was doing the real will of God that birthed this mindset of Christ.
No, he did not mean that he meant that as a metaphor.
Yes.
In the same way that I would say that Brandon is my brother. But Brandon is not my literal brother from my mom and dad. Brandon is my brother because of the relationship that me and Brandon have. But I would say that he is my brother because of the relationship. So in that instance, the Jesus character is saying, based on the relationship, that is my mother, my father, my brother, and my sister.
Because we know Jesus had a physical birth. He had to have a physical father, according to the flesh. He was born according to the flesh.
Mm-hmm. But according to how people believed in first century, they believed that gods can come to a human woman and have a baby. This was a motif that was popularized all throughout most of the world during these time frames.
I agree, but I'm not defending that at all. I like to deal with common sense, and my goal is to be deaf. So I like to deal with common sense, and I don't believe in a virgin birth as people believe it. No.
Okay, but this is my whole point, though. If you don't understand it in the way that they understood it when they was writing it, you're not getting the understanding that they were trying to get out. You're only getting the doctrine that has matured over the years.
No, they understanding this confusion, and that's what led us to this point today.
So you're saying all those people were wrong and you right?
Yes. And I won't say that I'm right. I'm saying I'm seeking.
No, you're saying you're right, because you're saying that.
I'm saying yes to they were wrong.
You're saying those people were wrong.
Even Jesus said that all who came before me were thieves and robbers. That includes Moses, Elijah, and everybody that we thought was good as well.
He wasn't talking about them.
All means all. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to pretend that all don't mean all.
He wasn't talking about them. He was talking about other people who were claiming to be the Messiah during those time frames through the Greek and the Roman era.
These were the Moses and the Elijahs.
He was not talking about them, because if he was saying that they were all liars, then he would not tell the people to follow the laws of Moses.
He's telling them that because the law of Moses is summed up in loving your neighbor.
No, it's not.
Now, for those who cannot do that, they need the law where you shouldn't steal, because they fear the punishment.
Out of Babylon, you are taking one line and ignoring the other lines ahead of it and after. When they asked this Jesus character, what is the greatest law? First law he said wasn't to love your neighbor. He said the first one is to love God, and pretty much love God and only God.
That's right. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul.
And to love God is to follow the Old Testament laws, because that is
Not
how the
true.
God of the Old Testament demonstrated that
Not
this is
true.
okay. Not true based on what? On your feelings?
Because he said the second commandment is just like it. So you need to
He,
understand once again who God is in this
he said,
reference. You are to
and
love
if
God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And he said the second commandment is just like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. So yourself in this reference is God, sir. And I'm not trying to yell, but I'm confident in what I'm saying because it's God. You're God. Love yourself with all your heart, mind, and soul. Hello?
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's the first commandment.
instead of trying to
And
go back,
the
instead
second
of
commandment is to love
stop
the next person like you love yourself.
stop interrupting me.
I'm sorry.
Before, in order to satisfy this issue, instead of we are going to go to the actual part that makes that statement so that there is clarity instead of what you just saying.
Okay.
This is found in Matthew. All right. So that there is clarity, starting in 23, Matthew 22, 23 through 28 says that the same day, some Sadducees came to him saying, there is no resurrection. And they asked him a question. Teacher, Moses said, if a man, oh, let's see. Hold on, that's not the right one. Did I look up the wrong thing? I looked up the wrong thing. Wait a minute. I looked up the wrong thing.
I'm scared to look it up. I'm scared my phone gonna come on.
I was in the right chapter, just wrong verse. Just wrong verses. So it's still 22. So it's 34. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, an expert in the law, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest? He said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang the law and the prophets. Right? So when he is saying the second is like it, he is not saying it is exactly like it. What he is saying is that the first one is that you are to love this God, and that is the greatest and the first commandment. The second one is to love your neighbor as you love your neighbor as you love yourself. So these two commandments, all the laws of the prophets hang on, is meaning that if you imbibe these two laws, then you will fulfill all the commandments of the law of God, which is speaking of the laws of Moses, because this Pharisee is an expert in the law, and that law is the law of Moses.
That is correct. So on those two commandments hang all the law.
Right. So the law of Moses says that that the law of Moses says that you are to buy your slaves from neighboring countries and from the foreigners who live amongst you, and that you are not to treat Israelite indentured servants harshly like you would treat a slave. So the neighbor is not the foreigners. The neighbors are your brother, sister, Israelites. Paul later recounts this same thing with Onesimus. So the neighbor is not anybody but other Israelites. And loving this God is to keep all of his laws, which there are 613 of those laws that you are to keep. And that's how you demonstrate your love, because every time this God of the Old Testament says that Israel is prostituting themselves to the other gods and doing this other stuff, is because they are not living according to the law. And so they are not showing this God love. So Jesus is reaffirming that you are to follow those laws of the Old Testament.
But in following what's really in the Old Testament, according to you say laws, he told you that those two means you follow all, correct?
Yes.
So if you believe that law on slavery is a real law, would you be correctly following that law if you do those two laws of loving God and loving your neighbor?
Yeah.
So
You will.
so why aren't we doing that?
Because our morality is greater than this God's morality, because we don't think that any form of slavery is valid.
So the question should be, who is God then? If you are to love God above all else.
The Bible version is not God. If
Yeah,
there
I
was no
agree
God,
with that.
the Bible version certainly is not.
I agree with that. It
But,
states that.
but Jesus worshiped the God of the Old Testament.
No, he did not.
Okay.
I mean,
I just showed you where he was saying that you are to follow the God of the law, the God of the law. So he obviously was worshiping the God of the Old Testament.
no, what I explained to you yesterday was that in the past, and what we're dealing with today, even after the so-called flood, is we're dealing with men in positions of power, leaders of the people, who having a carnal mindset does things both good and evil under the name of God. And my analogy for this yesterday is, in the show G.I. Joe, everybody in this world wants to play G.I. Joe, but nobody like the cartoon says they're Cobra. They're just pure evil. They're doing this because we hate you. That does not exist in this world. So we in America is saying we're fighting for good. The people we're fighting with is telling their people they're fighting for good. They're not saying we're evil and we hate them. They're saying, no, we're evil and they hate us and we're the good guys. So both sides are claiming the good guys. So what got them fighting if they're both the good guys? So that's why I say we need to understand the real issues. And when we bring it to the forefront, like when we're dealing with this money and these issues or these things that's going on, this is our human nature.
Going into this big ass circle without a cut to make a straight line, because the Bible clearly indicates that Jesus was in referencing to the God of the Old Testament. This is what they believe was God. This is what the Bible says is God. And this God is schizophrenic as hell because he changes his personality over and over again. But Jesus was saying you follow that God's law, and that's how you show that God love.
Okay.
You have your perspective, which is different from what the people who wrote the book meant. And you can have that perspective. That's why there are 42,000 denominations, because people have perspectives.
I'm just a simple man, sir, and I believe if we give everything out for free and love one another, all this so-called evil goes away. But because we choose this, and as the Bible states, let no man say that when he is tempted of God or any outside entity. So there's no outside God or devil. He is tempted of his own lust. So when I state things like when we drive past, like I live in the city of Chicago, when I drive past these city streets and I see people and whole families sleeping on the streets and begging for change, how does that issue arise? I can't say that issue arises because some outside force caused that to happen, some God or some devil. No, it happened because we believe in this money and we choose it to happen, both individually and collectively. Because if I drove past that same street and I see somebody I quote unquote love, like my mother or my father or my sister or my brother, more than likely what will happen is in a heartbeat, I would let them in my car, I would get them off the street, and I would not allow them to be in that situation. But because we don't see the stranger like we see ourselves or the people we claim we love, we drive right past them. And that's the issue that's going on today. And that's what's the devil and the God, which is all fault inside of us. Like I said, I agree with a lot of the things you're saying, but you need to understand what Christ really represented. It's not a literal story. We're talking about groups of people who started to understand by going through this life that this stuff is not worth it.
Stop. I agree with you.
Like I say, the end of all these things is death.
Stop. You're preaching, and we ain't doing no preaching. I
no
agree.
Preaching.
No,
but I'm just saying that these things is the truth.
I'm just saying it's preaching. So I agree with you that we can find the God and the devil within ourselves. I agree with you 100% on that one. When you go off into your conspiracy theories and your utopia, that will never happen, and it ain't got nothing to do with no God, no devil. That's just people, and
No conspiracy theory, sir.
it will never be a time frame where
You have a much more broad knowledge of the Bible than I do. I can never learn the Bible like how you learn.
But we will, all this idea that people in power did this and did that, yes, that happened to a certain degree, but these stories were created by people. These whole idea of this God is created by people, because that same lessons that you are talking about, I don't need your Bible. You talk about divining truth. I don't need your Bible.
I agree.
I can get that by reading the Vedas. I can get that by reading.
I agree.
I can get it from reading the Tao. I can get it from a bunch of different sources. So
I agree.
So the God of the Bible is not a diviner of truth. It is the God of the Bible, whether it's the Jesus version or the Old Testament version. It's just some shit that some dude made up at some point, some story that's been legendized. And
now, in the New Testament, Jesus said that
I don't care what Jesus said, is my point, because Jesus don't matter. He's a made up creation, a fictitious character. Because I can find the same thing by Buddha, by Krishna, by Lao Tzu. So Jesus don't matter. So to hinge everything on Jesus means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things.
And the conclusion of every so-called holy book is the same. To do unto others as you will have others do unto yourself. They're plain.
Except
like I
Bible,
told you before, if I grew up in another country, I'd be talking to you from the book of Allah and the Quran. I understand the thing.
Except for the Bible. The Bible is only speaking of your fellow tribesmen. It is not talking about anybody outside of that. You will not find one.
I'm not arguing any of these things.
How do you back that up? What biblical scholar has went through the Bible, that's not an apologist, that has said that when Jesus spoke of loving your neighbor, he meant everybody?
You say what now?
What biblical scholar that's not an apologist has said and demonstrated that Jesus speaking of your loving your neighbor is a reference to everybody?
Well, first and foremost, Jesus ain't a single literal character. So it's hard for me to explain that to you when you're looking at it from a story, a fairy tale. I'm not looking at it from a fairy tale. I base it on real life events. At the end of the whole parable, Jesus said,
wait. How are you going to say that he's not a literal character, and now you're saying Jesus said and in his life?
Because these things are parables to get us to understand what's going on now.
So Jesus never existed.
I didn't say that. I said that Jesus walking the flesh meant that people got together and did away with the old customs of the world. Just going to church every Saturday, every Sunday. Just going to a 9 to 5 every day and working for a paycheck.
How did they get together? You saying that people just got together in first century and just started doing the right thing?
That's right.
And then they centered it amongst a character. They created a character.
No. The people who came after did that. Again, I agree with all of what y'all said. The Bible is not put together to help us. It is a tool meant for control, but it is double-edged. They have to give you truth in there in order for it to work.
What is your proof that the Bible, that there was never an individual who started the movement, but yet it was a group of people who was acting a certain way, and then somebody came up and created the individual? Where's your how do you prove that?
If you understand the parables of the Bible, and I'm trying to explain to you, at the end of the parable,
you cannot use the Bible to prove the Bible. Where is your proof?
I'm giving you the proof if you let me talk, because again, the Bible states, and I'm tired of saying the Bible. I'm just using the Bible because this is what we're talking about.
No, then what I'm asking is, where is your outside of the Bible proof that some group of people took a non-existent person and created this parable based on what a group of people were doing?
What proof can I give you? All books are written by people.
So the only proof you have is your own speculation.
I told you I base it off of the lives of the people.
Okay,
There
You know
are
what?
people that actually
How
help
about
people, and there are people that don't.
You're being intellectually dishonest at this point. So now I'm just going to kick this conversation because I'm tired of we're going in a circle, and I don't like going in circles. When you make a statement, you have to be able to prove that statement. You cannot prove that statement, so therefore it is just your own point of view. So at that point, you should just say, it is my point of view. It is my perspective. I have nothing to back this up with. This is just what I think, which then that would be acceptable. And I would say, well, you can't argue your perspective. I can't argue against non-facts facts you cannot present. So since there is nothing for you to present, have a nice day. Basically, have a nice day. Because then it's just an opinion. And like you said earlier, opinions are like buttholes. Everybody got them and they all stink. Professor Hizzle, I want to thank you for the super chat, the $5 super chat, and say here's for the first round coach. You might need it after this combo. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. $5 more, and I'm gonna go. There's a cigar that I can get for $10 there. No, it's cost $15. Shit. $10 more, and there's a cigar I'll go get that I would desperately enjoy from that conversation, because that just turns into a circle. You have to be, if you're going to make a statement, a claim, you need to be able to back it up. And the fact that you're saying that the Bible, you don't understand the Bible that you're reading, because if you only want to see the Bible or any book, any writing, if you only see it from your modern day perspective, you are going to misstep in some areas of that understanding, right? So whether we are utilizing, if you go back and you read something written in the 1500s in Old English, and it utilizes the word awful, right? Then you today in a modern term would take that as meaning something bad. But the word awful in the 1500s, 1600s meant something that you were in awe of, right? So if in the 1600s, they say, well, the knight came through, and as he walked through the door, he was, the crowd, felt the awful regalness that he walked with. You would think that, oh, he must have been an evil character. But they just meant that the crowd was in awe of the presence that person brought into the room. It wouldn't have the connotation that we would have today. I just watched somebody, I think it was Thinker, she did a video where she talked about the word virtuous and how what virtuous means to us today is not what virtuous used to mean back in the day. And virtuous back in the day was it was male dominant. It had nothing to do with women. And then then there was another word that was similar that did have something to do with women. And I hope I'm getting it right based on what you said, because I didn't go back and research it as much. But virtuous, for the word that was used for a woman in virtuous, meant that she was chaste. But it didn't mean that she was virgin, that just she was chaste. Words change, words evolve, words have different meanings. Just like I was explaining in this scenario, the word Satan was translated or transliterated into the Greek as diablos, which meant devils, which the word diablos, which we then translated to devils. The word diablos, and it's like a longer than just diablos. That's the primary word. There's an added part to it. But that meant a slanderer. That's all it meant, a slanderer. So if I was in 1st, 2nd, 3rd century Rome, and I said that this person is a diablos, a devil, then I am not saying that they are evil. I am not saying that they are a murderer. I'm not saying that they are the adversary against this God. What I am saying is that this person is simply a slanderer. That's it. I ain't saying nothing else about it. If I was in the 1st century and I was speaking Aramaic, and I said, and earlier, if I said this person that this person is a Satan, then all I'm saying is that this person is my adversary. I am not saying that they are evil. I I'm not saying any of those things. All I'm saying is they are my adversary. So these words, many words change their meanings, right? So, and it's just like, see, people are saying the devil means deceiver. If you go to the actual, in Koine Greek back in those days, it only meant slander. It evolved to having more meaning as the language changed, right? Now, not all words do this, but some of the more important words when it comes to how you think about things have changed. If you read something in the hip hop community in the late 80s, early 90s, and it said like, you know, Debbie walked into the room and every man was looking at Debbie and like, damn, she bad. All right, if you just read that, but if you're reading this and you're in the 1970s, well, 1940s, 1950s, 60s, then you would take that to mean that Debbie walked in the room and every man says she's bad in a negative connotation, that there's something wrong with Debbie. But if you read that in the 90s, you would say, then, and you was from the 90s or even up to today, you would say, damn, Debbie walked in the room and damn, Debbie must be fine as hell because Debbie's bad, right? Totally different meanings based on your perspective of when you're reading something. And when you don't do that, all you're demonstrating is that you truly don't have a grasp with what was being said. And you're just taking how you think, feel, and making it fit into your modern day narrative. But what I do here on this channel is I challenge you to understand something based on how they wrote it, how they understood it, because that is when you will actually have the meaning of what it was, not based on your perspective. Your perspective don't matter, right? Now, if you want to have this altruistic idea, this is how people create Gnostic Christianity or mystic Christianity and the Theosophy societies and all these different things, is because they take these words and make it into some mystical stuff, right? And they did the same thing. This is how your devil and evils and all these things came about, through some mystical stuff, right? Because prior to the Babylonian captivity, there was no devil in Judaism. And if there can be no devil in Judaism, then Christianity's ideas of a devil is a manufactured entity. So there was nobody talking to Jesus on no damn mountain tempting him. This is a created story, right? This is a made up story based on the fact that they needed to get that number 40 in there. You know, Moses was up on the mountain, how they walked around for 40 years, you know, how other prophets were tempted, you know, or went through some kind of bullshit. They are trying to match Jesus up to the Old Testament in this legendized story about Jesus. But there was no temptation on the mountain by some entity, some being, because there is no devil. So they would not have that event, could not have happened. The Satan worked for God. So there would be no reason for God to send the Satan to tempt himself in the human flesh, in the human form, because the Satan was an agent of God, a B'nai Elohim. This is why he's, where you been? You know, back and forth, heaven and earth. If he's back and forth in heaven and earth, then that negates the whole idea of a war in heaven and the devil being thrown down to earth and having to stay on the earth if his ass is up in heaven. So it makes no sense, right? So we have to be able to go back, look at the perspective, the politics, the thought process, what the language meant to those people at that time frame. Otherwise, you're just modernizing something to fit your narratives, and that's where you will you lose your objectivity to be able to critically think through what these damn books are saying, right? So and unfortunately, many people are falling into that. Many people. I've always said that if I wanted to create a religion, all I have to do is mystify the things that are written. Matter of fact, I could take this book and utilize this book to create a new religion. And I know that it's possible because this is what, if you ever heard of the Unitarian Church, that's essentially what the Unitarian Church has done. They take Gnostic writings, they take biblical writings, they take the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Tao Te Ching, and they find the parallels, merge that into a dang on religion. And the Unitarian Church is of a significant size. Yeah, so yeah. I spent 3 hours and 30 minutes. It's 2:33. And yes, I had a small breakfast, so I might be mildly cantankerous right now. I hate that some of y'all know how can tell me when I'm hungry and I'm not. So, y'all, I don't like none of y'all who can recognize that when I'm getting angry. I'm telling you, the best time to come onto the show is when I first begin. The worst time to come onto the show is after we've not been on for about 2.5 hours because it starts kicking in. Tina said, actually, Tina, I did not look. My wonderful bride, before she leaves the house in the morning, she ensures that I have breakfast and she ensures that there is a lunch waiting for me. Usually the lunch is on the counter, but what she's been providing for me lately here has been in the refrigerator, and I did not look in the refrigerator to see what she had left. But my wonderful wife made me lunch. I have no idea. All I know is every time it's good. Right? So I don't know, but it's going to be good. No, but I don't, no energy bars. Look, man, I'm working on this baby keg, so I can't be eating no snacks, no Snickers and stuff. So if there isn't anything else, we're going to prepare to. So what is that? Is that a spider and a snake? I mean, a spider and a steak? Did you feel you're trying to feed me spiders and steaks? Oh, that is my wife. So it's not spiders and steaks. See, that's why you gotta have the reading glasses. Let me say this while I'm still a little cantankerous. And she didn't want me to say this last week when it happened. Let me put some of y'all on game real quick. Let me put some of y'all. You see the name, Eat, Sip, and Smoke Travel. Now, one, go follow that page. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on TikTok. That's one. But number two, when my wife comes on here and people ask certain questions like about the event that we're having here, October 31st through November 2nd, and she's trying to provide you information or she's trying to provide you links and stuff. And I know that sometimes text doesn't have tone, but when your writing style sounds insulting towards my bride, I don't have to be hungry. Okay? All I'm saying is that if you get a message from Eat, Sip, Smoke Travels, that is my wife. Be mindful of how you respond to my wife. Y'all can say the crazy shit to me. No one is going to say the crazy shit to my wife. Okay? So let's be clear about that. I can be the nicest, most patient guy, as y'all have see that I demonstrate with some of these conversations. But do not ever take that to think that you can speak to my wife any kind of way. Now, some of y'all might not have known that that's who that is, right? This is why I am politely saying, if you see eat, sip, and smoke travels, that's my bride. Don't mess with a man's bride, okay? Not this man, because just don't do it, okay? Don't do it, all right? Everybody, and I want y'all to play nice with each other, period. Be able to disagree, but don't be disagreeable. You've heard that before. Disagree, but don't be disagreeable. There's no reason for it. Which is why Final Trumpet on TikTok will never be on the page. So let's all be polite, respectful. I will give Out of Babylon the credit of saying that we all should be in a mindset to help one another. We all should be. It will be great to have this utopian society where there is no money, so that and we all are just sharing in resources and so on and so forth. But as a world, that has never happened. You have small sects of societies that have done that, but even in their societies, they still had hierarchies. But that's probably never going to happen. But unlike Carlos, there is more love, there is more sharing, there is more joy, there is more goodness in this world than there is evil. We just focus on the evil too damn much, right? We only pay attention to it, and it grabs our attention. There was a news channel some years, decades, about a decade or so ago. They tried to be the good news channel. People didn't watch it. People didn't watch it. Right? So we have a tendency to pay attention to the negative. And I think part of that tendency is that it makes our lives better. It makes us feel better about what we may struggle with. And so that's one of the reasons why we may like to look down on other people. But we have to get into a higher vibrational thought where we have to get into a higher vibrational thought where we don't automatically look at the negative, that we look at the positives of life first, and then we try to grow those positive things. So thank you, Keon, for the gifts. All right, it's $7. Ooh, I can get a Zeno. What's that? No, what's that cigar called? Start with a Z. I forgot. That costs $7. So I appreciate everything. I just received orders, so I'm going to follow the orders of the mean lady telling me to go eat. So I appreciate everybody. I look forward to our conversations tomorrow. So I appreciate that, Keon. So we are, let's all build together. Let's all build this together. That's part of our discussion when we for the people who are coming here to San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. Part of our discussion on that Saturday evening is about how we can build together, right? So y'all have a great day. Always remember, we have to free ourselves to be ourselves, because you're great. Oh, my bad. Sherry over on TikTok said, go to my pages within some of the description on the videos and whatnot, but on the description of the channels, there's the link to go to Shine Universe. I don't have it where I can post it on my laptop right now, but I'll post it on video I do later. It's shineuniverse.net, I think, /mastering you. This is where you can get the t-shirts that you guys see me wear sometimes. free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is not negotiable. Those shirts, Good Journey, Good Vibration shirts, as well as the Lion as Liar shirts. It would be cool, as Sherry is saying, if the people who show up one of the days we have the shirts on, like when we go to the on Saturday, when we go to the Chinese tea garden to have the shirt on. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, it would be. I ain't gonna lie. My ego would be stroked. Not gonna lie about that. So with that, I will be wearing one of the shirts probably tomorrow while we're online. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And we are out. Thank you for the reminder, Sherry.